Ladies and gentlemen, the time is here for the grand finals of our second WCS Circuit event here in Jönköping, Sweden. 2 men enter, 1 walks away as the champion here of our second event. Welcome, I am Nathanius, and we are here for the grand finals. It's gonna be a Protoss versus Zerg showdown. I am joined on the desk by Todd and DeMuslim. We have had one hell of a tournament this weekend, upsets abundant, and many, many stomps of extremely talented players moving forward in these brackets.
Yeah, it feels like at this point, the 2 biggest titans from the tournament are gonna meet one another. On one hand, you got Serral, who's the double WCS Challenger champion over from Europe, who looked absolutely unstoppable so far. He's 13-2 in maps. The 2 losses that he's got only came from Protosses, but what this tells us is that he might go maybe like 4-2 against Neeb. Whereas Neeb, the returning champion, who's also playing really well, but definitely should have to struggle a little bit more against Zerg, and also has looked incredible. Like the last few previous series, he's just looked insane again.
What's beautiful about this tournament is, as we've been progressing a little bit further, the amount of players that people name, like, oh, I'm scared of this guy, I'm scared of this guy, I'm scared of this guy. Serral's only really had 2 people that he's been like, oh, well, I don't really want to play those. Those guys are scary. And it's been Major and Neeb. And I'm pretty sure that Neeb feels the exact same way about Serral. So the fact that we're going to see the absolute epitome of good Zerg standard play against good Protoss standard play, I'm super excited to finally see which race is better on this map pool.
And which region.
And which region.
NA versus EU, the question that will pop up forever. And as we get ready to move into this, I do want to take another chance to thank our sponsors. Big shout outs to Asus, Republic of Gamers, and Razer. But yes, that NA versus EU passion, the tension, I'm sure the chat is losing it for this match. 2 players that Neeb built up. We've hyped him up so much. He's been delivering on the hype with Kespa Cup. He delivered in Austin, and he's looking for that repeat, but we've never seen Serral in a position like this before. How much does this mean to someone? He seems to be a pretty quiet guy, but you got to imagine deep down inside, there's something there that's quite pumped up about this.
We don't know how much it means to Serral, and we'll never know how much it means to Serral, but the obvious answer, it must mean a lot. He's never been this far in a tournament in his life. You know, this is the most important moment that I can imagine that any 19-year-old would have come up to. So nerves are going to have to be had. Like, can he really stone face it all the way? The answer is yes, that's what he does. But he's so unbelievably good, and he knows his opponent's so unbelievably good. If he brings anything to the table, which is just pure raw skill, this is the time that he's really going to need to carry it through.
Yeah. Neeb has a lot of experience in those grand finals. We need to remember that as well. He's played in quite a few of them. He's won tournaments, one of those in South Korea against the best South Korean player. So he's going to go into this in a more comfortable position, but on paper, I do feel like Serral might be the favorite.
All right, well, we have prepared a little video for you guys as these players make their way to the road to the grand finals.
It feels really good to be in the finals. I was kind of expecting this because I have been doing really well lately. So yeah, a bit surprising, but still expected at the same time.
I think Serral has been extremely good for a very long time, but he hasn't been able to show it in live tournaments. But I think this tournament, he's been playing just as well as he does on ladder for a long time.
Seemingly already that credit being given to Serral, even from Neeb in this the pre-finals discussion. He mentioned it in his interview. He said, well, I just hope I don't get 4-0'd. Is Neeb even prophesizing his own defeat here? What's going on?
One of the big things is you have to give credit to Serral. You can't not at this point. He's in the final of WCS. And one of the big things that players find very hard, like the real chasm, I suppose, that's hard to jump over is translating it to tournaments, translating it to LANs. He's been doing it in online, and now he's really stepped up. And the fact that he's only lost like 2 maps this tournament that have been to Protoss players, and even those games, those were like in a series when you're 2-0 ahead. I'll throw out this cheeky build, see how you do against it. Can Neeb stop him at this point? And If anybody can, it's Neeb.
Very rarely do those players that are hyped a lot and also show a lot of promise end up not delivering onto those promise. I feel that when it's up to that level, like literally every single best European player has been saying for a while that Serral is the best European. And that used to be Neeb, actually.
Yeah.
Who still is right now, like on the verge of maybe winning his first big tournament. That used to be Neeb for a long time. He was hyped and he was almost getting there, but then failed the first few times. And in this case, I have to wonder, like, will Serral also fail here on his first big attempt, or will he make it directly and take it this?
The funny thing you mentioned about that is, yeah, it took a while for Neeb's confidence to really shine through. I remember him going into tournaments and being like, yeah, I'm not actually as good as you guys think I am, blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
He claimed himself to be overrated.
Yeah, and it's like, no, Neeb, you just need to get confident. And once he won his first thing, there was actually no stopping Neeb. Whether this is going to be the same ordeal for Serral, I think the fact that he's made it this far, the confidence already must be brewing. When you talk to every player is scared of playing you. Even your opponent that has been so dominant and was the first foreign player in like 10 plus years to do well in Korea, or at least win a tournament in Korea. Man, you've got some respect right now.
And okay, we got a little bit more to discuss, but we are going to go to the stage now to introduce the two players here in our grand finals of WCS Jönköping.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the WCS Jönköping Grand Finals. We have two 19-year-olds fighting for the title of WCS champion. Can our current reigning champion from Austin win 2 titles in a row, or will the Finnish Zerk become a StarCraft 2 champion for the very first time? It's your grand finalists, Neeb and Serral!
A monumental moment for both of these players. Neeb on the cusp of a repeat WCS championship, and Serral potentially claiming his first trophy in a Premier StarCraft 2 tournament. This moment has an incredible amount of weight for both of these players, for both of their respective regions, Todd.
Yeah, it's funny because they're kind of similar as well. You know, they don't show the most emotions, but in game is where they show everything that matters. They show their skill and all that. I just found it really funny just now. They went to each other and shook hands. I was just imagining, you know, an alternate world where it's like they just lean forward and they're like 4-0 and just shake each other and then move to the stage. But no, they're not these kind of guys. They respect one another tremendously, but I'm pretty sure they're both quite confident in their capabilities. Neeb on the North American ladder, he doesn't have that many games. He's slightly above 100, but he has a 78% win rate. And then just when you think he's like the most impressive thing ever, Serral on the European ladder, around 400 games, 80% win rate. These guys just are monsters of StarCraft and the absolute cream of the crop, both in North America and in Europe.
Yeah, not much else to add. Like, these guys play a very standard PvZ and ZvP, respectively. But one thing that they do it better than anybody else. The exact unit compositions that you want to see, the exact droning up, the exact macro capabilities, the exact micro capabilities. When you see Neeb micro with a Warp Prism, nobody does it better. And you could say the same for Serral in the way that he uses his army as well. You are seeing a real clash of Protoss and Zerg Titans, and these are the absolute best of their respective races right now in the foreign scene.
Pay attention to these numbers, by the way, earnings. Neeb almost at $200,000 and Serral was around 50K. In a few years from now, I can guarantee you one thing, these two will have a whole lot more than this because they're on top of the scene right now and they're not going anywhere. They're just in their prime, I want to say, even though they're so young, which would be almost like a crazy thing to say, I feel like they have so much more to come.
I feel their prime's just going to last a long time. Like, really. I mean, they're that good. They're that good.
The momentum that they've built up, especially Neeb, he's a player that everybody talks about. You know, at the beginning of 2016, his name was popping up a little bit more here and there, but he wasn't quite the household name just yet in StarCraft 2. Now he's become that player. Serral, this is the first step on cementing yourself, you know, as that player for the European side. We have all of the maps here. Of course, it is a best of 7 grand finals. We're going to go through all of them. And that question comes up once again. The PVZ on these maps, talk about maps like Blood Boil, Defender's Landing. Who has the advantage moving into this final? Who do you like going into this grand final?
I don't think too many people will argue otherwise. Serral definitely and Zerg here. I saw those first few picks. You had Blood Boil's in there. I think Ascension to Ire is one map that he seems to favor quite a bit. That was his second pick. And Defender's Landing, when I see those 3 maps, I'm like, all right, well, good luck to Neeb, because he's going to be really hard on these maps. So obviously, he's shown good things, and obviously Neeb picked, I think it was Abyssal Reef as his first map, but other than that, it's going to be very hard to be very comfortable on these maps against a Zerg as good as Serral.
All right, we're about to jump into this. Just want to ask whether you guys have anything else that you want to add, any final thoughts before we go into this grand final.
Good luck to you, Neeb. You're going to need it.
I mean, good luck to both these players. I'm just getting ready to sit back and enjoy and see 2 Titans absolutely duke it out, man.
All right, well, either a first-time ever champion or a back-to-back WCS champion. It's time for Neeb versus Serral.
Ladies and gentlemen, we started with 80. We're down to the final 2, and I think it's easy and clear to say these are the 2 best players in this current tournament. They're the last 2 remaining, but they earned it. They got here beating the others, and they are looking in top form, Rotterdam.
This is going to be such an awesome final. I really am so excited to be here, Jeff. You said it. We've got the best seats in the house. But on the other end, I wouldn't even mind just putting my feet on the couch and just watching these games, because Neeb versus Serral, this is as good as it's going to get in the foreign scene.
What a treat for all of us. Let's go ahead and get into that first game. We're going to kick it off on Abyssal Reef here as map number 1. In the top left-hand side, or excuse me, we're going to go with the bottom right-hand side. From Finland, it's the Blue Zerg, Serral.
On the left top side of Abyssal Reef, we're looking at the main base of our reigning WCS champion. He's representing Ting. Give it up for Neeb.
But the guys at the desk did a good job kind of talking about these 2 players. Obviously, the almost like trademark lack of confidence from Neeb. How do you feel about this match? He's like, well, I hope to not get 4-0'd. Give me a break. This guy's a monster. Right when we expected him to have a close match against Sword of earlier in this tournament, he just destroyed him. He looked very good in that matchup. He obviously struggled a little bit against Special, but I feel like anyone and everyone probably will. Special's an incredible player, yet here he is. Now on the other side too, though, is Serral, where I think the same is not true. Almost every time we've seen him step up to the plate, he's made his opponent look like they don't belong in the same match as him. That ZvZ against a Laser, where Laser did the same thing to Cham, it just was very one-sided.
I think it's awesome, to be honest, to see such a young man as Serral being so confident. It almost is borderline cocky, but I think it's well-deserved, because he did win 2 challenges in a row, and he has been so dominant online, but it's still uncharacteristic. What we kind of expect Serral to say is like, oh, you know, they're all really good, and this is going to be tough, but hopefully I can play my best. But he's just like, nah, I actually deserve to be in the final. And you know what he said in the round of 16 already, Jeff? To one of the lovely Blizzard employees, he said, well, when I make it to the final, it was just, you know, I wasn't even worried about the quarters. I mean, when I make it to the final, I'd like to play Neeb. Since he's the reigning champion, I'd like to dethrone him. Like, well, he's got his wish. But you know what they say, be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for, but some of the greats also kind of call their shots. I mean, how amazing would it be if Serral says, you know what, there's one other guy that kind of deserves to be up there. I'm going to beat them because I want that spot. So getting into the map here, we do have a fairly normal opening, at least for now, from Serral. It's going to be a Speedling opening with that expand. From Neeb, by the way, very, very much so straightforward for me. Like, this is one of the guys that's kind of emerging like, will he mix in an Adept all-in or something a little bit crazy? Yes, he will do that, especially in a best of 7. But for the most part, you're going to see some Stargate play, you're going to see Adepts, and then from there, he'll branch out.
Yeah, he's been very annoying with this probe, obviously early on delaying the hatchery by quite a bit. This is going to slow the economy down of Serral, and that's the way you want to play PvZ. You can't just let Serral get his hatcheries down, make as many drones as he wants, and just kind of sit back and see what he does. Because you know what he's going to do? He's going to make a ridiculous amount of Hydras, Zerglings, and Banelings, and he will kill you if you did not disrupt that economy one way or the other.
Yep.
And these are all minor things, but you know, a few minor delays does really start adding up, and that can make the difference between 5, 6, 7 extra Banelings later on or not, and that can be the difference between defeat or a hold. So even though this all looks like it doesn't mean much, I like what Neeb is doing, because he's doing, at least in this phase, sort of whatever he can to get that minor but also important edge.
We're going to have this Overlord scouted out, but it's just for right now. Missing the Stargate, it does see that. It'll confirm probably what Serral already knew was coming. Now, we've seen some different varieties off of this. One of the things Neeb likes to do here is make a pretty healthy grip of Adepts and kind of jump them up into the main base and use the Oracle to back them up. Usually he goes to Oracle with that, so I'm not sure we'll see that just yet here. This is also a better Protoss map, by the way. So a lot of times in a best of 7, we're going to see a lot of maps. On the maps that are good for you, you don't want to play too crazy because you got your strengths working out for you naturally.
Absolutely. Look at this Oracle getting a couple of drones already. 3 drones, that's an excellent start. Neeb would obviously love to get a 4th. Let's see if he gets it. Hold position above the extractor, and yes, he does. That's 4 drones. And this also is all because the Spore wasn't done yet. Those drones are being transferred a little bit later on. Neeb is going to follow this up with 4 Adepts that obviously don't have Resonating Glaives, but that second Oracle is going to join in the mix as well. Could even be 6 Adepts eventually, and this is something that Serral is already going to have to respect. Resonating Glaives or not, if it's 4 to 6 Adepts and 2 Oracles, you better be ready to deal with that.
This seems to be that kind of attack I was talking about a little bit earlier. Of course, there's enough Queens here in production to make this not really work, but don't think of this as an attack trying to win the game per se. It's trying to edge out a slight victory that could then lead to a win in the game.
Yep, well, he's gonna let the Shade finish up. It's kind of a little bit questionable, but the Oracles will show up, but one Adept is going to fall immediately, and the Oracle falls as well. So far, Serral bulletproof.
Yeah, nice pickup there on that Oracle. Keep in mind, the Oracle showed up after a Phoenix as well, which delays that, so it is a dead Oracle, but it's kind of an even more expensive Oracle because the time spent and resources spent at that time are a little bit more valuable.
It's funny as well because you look at this and you're like, that was kind of easy with Serral, but we've seen this in other games. 3 dead Queens, 24 Zerglings dead, everything just straight up dies. Serral makes it look easy. The only thing that Serral has to worry about a tiny bit is that his worker count has been slacking. We're almost 6 minutes in and he's still behind on the worker department.
Yep.
Not the end of the world, but that's not really where you want to be as a Zerg.
And that's actually what makes that attack so nice, is as you said, if you underappreciate it, it can actually do real damage to you. But even if you, I don't want to say overappreciate, but if you respect it like Serral did, it still has its impact felt on you. And that's kind of the stuff that Neeb's really known for. His Oracle play is really tight and really good. Even if he doesn't get those 4 or 6 drone kills, he's going to make you make Spore Crawlers. He's going to make you use your Queens and keep them in a concentrated place. He just does so much to kind of get those little advantages.
Absolutely, high-level play so far from both players. Losing 1 Oracle is a tiny bit uncharacteristic by Neeb, but other than that, it's solid. We see a Dropalord being morphed as well.
A late one at that.
Yeah.
Banelings probably.
Yeah, just a little Baneling drop. You know what I would like to mention as well? That we saw Serral one game against Drogo on Odyssey go for that Link Flood. Obviously, Neeb was watching those games. Now, this is something that he's always going to have to worry about. What is it? He's not
just Banelings.
Yeah, okay.
And then he'll pick him up and drop him on the middle line.
That makes sense. As we see a couple of Adepts being unloaded, those Queens are a little bit out of position.
Yeah.
So this is actually quite nice, but Neeb has to make sure the Phoenix is in position, and it does. Wow. It spots the Dropalord. Well done, Neeb.
And that's actually a really big deal, because one of the nice things about Banelings in this situation is think of them a lot like Widow Mines, where would it be nice if they hit 20 probes? Sure, but they don't have to. If you hit like 9, 8, that's still a good thing for the Zerg play. It's a really good trade in that regard.
Yep, Templar Archives on the way. Charge is about to finish up. +1 is about to finish up. But what I tried to say before we saw that action is that just because Neeb saw those games, Neeb knows that Serral is capable of going crazy early game, and that forces Neeb not to be too greedy. While in the past, Neeb sometimes is like, well, if I'm playing against a Zerg who's never all-inning me, I'll just go up to 65 probes and then I'll make a Mothership core. Serral basically said, I wouldn't do that against me because I am capable of link flooding in a big series like we just saw against Drogo.
Well, we've seen this kind of thing before, where Serral likes to hit this mid-game Hydra Link Baneling timing attack I'm loving the Warp Prism play. It's not getting a ton of damage in, but it's making Serral stay close to home, and it's still picking up a drone here or there. One of the last things that Zerg wants to do when they're in this big production phase is remake drones or put them back on mineral lines or on gases.
Yep. But this is a very different type of Hydra Bane that we've seen earlier from Serral. It's a little bit more passive. He's going very economic up to this point. Obviously, he wants to start putting some pressure soon, but he knows that this is not going to hit super early. He knows that he will most likely have to face Storm. Then I just wonder how he's going to deal with this. We see 3 more Dropper Lords being morphed. 1 Dropper Lord obviously heading to that base. But there is already... Is he going to make Banelings rain from the sky on top of the sentries?
I'm getting a sense that it's going to be like Hydras or something. I think he's going to go full creative TLO on this one, perhaps, where it's like multi-prong attacks. We do have the Banelings on the left side over here by the 3rd. There's already a Photon Cannon. Neeb's pretty... He's actually got the Mothership Core patrolling over there as well. And again, look at what this Warp Prism's doing. Not the whole army's over there. Starting to kind of thin the herd here with a couple of storms. But I like what you said, Rotterdam. This is not a full-on all-in, per se.
He's going to put Banelings, I think, in those Dropper Lords. He's going to try to drop the Banes on top of these High Templars, on top of the Sentries. It's very important that Neeb respect this. What is the anti-air ability for Neeb right now? It's a couple of Archons. That's about it. But he does have cannons to fall back on.
Yeah, he sees he's kiting backwards. That is the right call.
That's
massive
a good storm.
It's a center mass storm. And here come the Banelings. They're actually getting thinned out in the Overlords. They're dropping on top of the Archons. That's not the connection you want. He's going for the Templar, but he's not getting there. Neeb does kite backwards. The Archons left at the front, though, thinning out in health. And here we go. The fight rolls forward from Serral, but with the Immortal stepping forward, doing a good job getting the impacts they need in the storms. Rocking the Zerg army there. Run a little bit harassed behind it as well.
Yep, run by on the other side of the map. That was as clean of a hold as you're ever going to see it from a Protoss. Neeb was more than ready for it. Serral is starting to take some serious damage as there's a massive weapon in the natural as well. And this definitely didn't go Serral's way. That doesn't mean this game is over, but you gotta love Neeb's position.
Oh, it's getting better though, Rotterdam. Like even just the Zealots now trading out with Flings, it's not the best, but it's allowing him to push forward, get some queens, start to fight back that creep, but keep the Zerg at home. There's no hive tech, there's no massive upgrades, even just now the infestation pit. So for Serral, he's got to start thinking about a different gear and pushing this somewhere else. And it's plan B most definitively. He wanted this to get a lot of damage. I liked the idea of dropping the Banelings. There's no Stalkers, there's no Blink here, so it was just the Archons. But man, Neeb, so on top of his army control, was able to take almost no damage from it.
Yep, and the fact that he was able to land that one key storm before the fight on top of all the Hydras, that even though those Banelings did a good job in pushing that Protoss army back, the Hydra force was simply too weak to just stay there. You know, normally if Protoss gets put in a very awkward position, it can be hard to get out of that choke point, but this time it wasn't, because a lot of those Hydras already took a beating of that storm.
And Neeb's playing pretty inspired. A lot of Protosses would have lost that Warp Prism by now. I mean, warping in multiple places, running Zealots into additional bases. Eventually, your luck kind of runs out there, but for Neeb right now, it's just going so well. There's a lot of Banelings. Oh, yeah, that Storm just nailed so many of them. And that is an expensive loss for Serral, who, look at the bank here as well, is not chalking up that much money. He can't really afford to keep doing that.
No, another massive weapon in the main. This time the Prism is going to take a little bit of damage. Neeb is just everywhere. More Zealots coming in from the north side as well. As some of these units from Serral are trapped on the left bottom side. More Banes go down. Neeb, can we take a look at the units lost time? I know Neeb has lost a lot of Zealots, but other than that, this has been so clean by Neeb.
Absolutely amazing. Koka, our beautiful observer here, doing the best he can to keep up with this, but that's going to be it for Serral. He taps out. GG's called, and first blood is drawn. Neeb, your WCS Austin champion, wants to add WCS Jönköping to his belt as he's looking to win this series.
Neeb lost 42 units that game, killed almost 250. And of those 42 units, like 30 of them were Zealots. Incredible game by Neeb, incredibly clean. Like we said early on, getting a couple of minor things going for himself, and that just set him up a lot stronger. The cannons at the fort base were incredibly useful. The Zealots buying time, the Storms on point. Yeah, it's not going to get much better than that as a Protoss point of view.
And I'll tell you what, this man right here, Serral, he did drop a couple of maps earlier out, as pointed out by our analysts, to some PvZ matchups, but I felt like almost, at least the one I saw, was very much so him trying like a timing attack, and it didn't really work out. Whatever, he won the series pretty convincingly. But in this case, he was not, there was no leveraging here. He tried some ideas, they got deflected hard, and he just got straight outplayed. So I've said this before, but I love seeing this play out in championships where it's like gut check time, Serral. You think you're the best. A lot of people believe that to be true. You're going to have to bounce back from a game where you just get flat outplayed like that and put it to bed.
I think the best way to put it as well is that just Neeb was dictating the pace of that entire game. When was Serral ever attacking other than on that fort when the cannons were in place already? That Bane drop shut down before it ever happened. The Ling run by, we didn't see a single one. Hydra's coming in from a different angle. Nope, Neeb was on top of that. Neeb was all over that game. Yeah, Neeb was just controlling it from start to finish.
He was. Now, the good news for you Serral fans are we are heading to Blood Boil, where think about how this functions kind of on almost a mental level in this matchup. If you need a bounce back, if you need an opportunity for like, okay, look, I belong here, I can do this. Having the map give you a little bit of a pat on the back and whisper in your ear and be like, it's okay, I've got you. This is kind of nice. And on the flip side, it's true too. Neeb has had moments in the past where he's kind of buckled in on himself mentally. This is the kind of map that could do that.
Yep, but it's sweet for our American that he picked up Abysso. Either way, we are loading in to this beautiful map created by our dedicated, passionate map maker Avax. As we're looking at the main base of our Finnish Zerg. Can he get the revenge of Elfie of all those years ago? It is Serral. ...2011, Jeff. Elfie versus Idra. The last time we saw Finland versus USA.
And it was like the reverse roles of races too. It was a Protoss versus Zerg, but back then the Protoss was the Finnish, the Zerg was the American. Well, here we are, on the lower right-hand side, wearing the red trunks, as they say. It is Ting Neeb.
Back then, the Zerg won. Perhaps this time.
I know. Or what if just America wins both times?
Yeah, it's possible.
We'll see, though. It's a best of 7, just the first map down. And Serral, you know, the other thing here, too, is I don't watch that game and go, man, Serral, what's going on? You're playing terrible. He played good. His creep spread was all over. He was handling the harass fairly well. It's just that Neeb executed just that little bit better, and it really snowballed there in the end, I think.
Yep, and Serral was just never able to deny maybe a third or even a fourth. He was just a little bit too late. How often?
You know, that's a big deal. The fourth went down with no... I mean, it's like if we almost had this amazing stat to follow that, but any time a Protoss gets a fourth down unperturbed, like at all,
yeah.
I think it's like a 98% win percentage, I feel like. It's crazy.
Yep, and it's mostly the way that the compositions work and the amount of gas that a Protoss needs to truly get the right amount of Archons, Immortals, a second Robo, upgrades, then of course High Templars with Storm as well. We do see Serral, however, take the gold base, and this gold base on Blood Boy, well, it's a magnificent one.
He takes this gigantic, what is that, 8-pile?
Yep.
Is that, no, it's not. No, it's 8. 8-pile gold base. He also takes the natural in front of his main, of course. You wouldn't take the back base. It leaves a lot of negative space in front of you. And then meanwhile, Neeb, and this is kind of an interesting choice too, Kevin. I wonder how you feel about this, because he takes the back base, which has a lot of minerals, which is nice, but only the 1 gas. What do you think about taking the base in front, which is a bit more of a standard double gas, 8 mineral, I believe?
Yep. I mean, obviously that one is better technically because the extra 2 mineral patches are nice, and you can be like, well, you can make a bunch of extra zealots. Often a Zerg is like, well, cool, I'll make a bunch of extra Banelings. We'll see how you like that. But I think it's a little bit risky to take the one on the lower ground.
Okay.
If Serral decides to just start mining from the gold and just flood you with roaches and links,
which you saw earlier.
I think that would become incredibly difficult to deal with. Now we see the Twilight Council, we see the robotics facility. Doing an Archon drop from 3 gases, it's doable, don't get me wrong, but obviously you're not going to be able to warp like 8 or 9 in. I really love the build that Neeb showed us on Odyssey, which he did against sort of the 2 Archons and resonating laves, but I just don't think that's possible when you only have 3 gases.
Yep. I think the other interesting issue here, and it's kind of it's an interesting narrative to watch develop, but Neeb's extremely good, but a little bit on the predictable side. In fact, some of his most impressive series, I feel like, is when he breaks away from that mold. But on this map, the meta amongst the top Protoss players is you have to go Archon drop. And playing into that against Serral, to me, feels like an insurmountable hill. It's like you're going to out-execute him when the map is kind of against you and he knows this is coming. It seems really ridiculous to do, but that being said, if anyone can do it, as they said on the desk, it feels like it's Neeb.
Yeah, I mean, at least with his opening, you can perhaps somehow hope that you can find an opening where maybe most of the units are on the low ground, you can drop the Archons into the main. And what I really like these days is that sometimes we see the second Prism, that's cool. But what I like even more is when you see the Archon drop, We'll warp in 2 Zealots, kind of hide them, more Archon and Res, a little bit fancy micro, and then suddenly it's 2 Archons and 6 Zealots. And that's something where even with a couple Roaches, you got to be careful, because if Archons can get on top of Roaches, they really are not all that bad.
Yep.
Second Prism, right?
Yep, it's a second Prism. Gonna have that multi-prong harass. There's the 4 DTs. Some players will actually go out with the 4 DTs and try to harass them. It's gonna be straight Archons here.
This is exactly why Drogo, I think, warped in his Archons as well when he played against Nurture on this map. We saw earlier this weekend that it's not impossible to win as a Protoss. It's just hard, and you got to switch it up as well. That could be a free Overlord, because I don't think Overlord speed is out. But it seems like Neeb doesn't want to settle for an Overlord. He's got big rings. This is a mirror image of Drogo Nurture. Those 3 Queens there as well.
We're gonna go ahead and get some hits in on these Roaches, and he actually tries to morph in a Ravager there to save its life, but ends up costing him anyways. And at the end of the day, this is okay for Neeb, but again, anytime you hear us doing like a waffling, like that was okay, that means he's kind of sinking in quicksand, so to speak. That's a rock solid gold base, guys. His economy is skyrocketing, and he can always take the base behind his main as well for even more minerals.
Just to give you guys a good idea why we think this is so much better for Serral already. Remember last game, Abyssal, we were almost 6 minutes in and Serral was still down on the worker department. Right now, we're 5 minutes in and Serral has been up 5 workers for quite some time. And that Prism took a lot of damage.
My Be Still My Heart. That was getting scary there. And he does have the second Warp Prism, but he's being strangely inactive about it. He's going to swap it out for the more healthy one, I guess. But that, too, is a plan B, ladies and gentlemen. There's no article about to be written about, oh my God, it's the more healthy Warp Prism. It's definitely the backup plan here. But again, a couple of drones do go down. And as Rotterdam pointed out, though...
What's up with Neeb's workers? Neeb hasn't been building probes. Neeb is getting ready to go for a big attack.
How many gateways?
But he doesn't have charge. He has quite a few gates. He hasn't been building workers for quite some time. This is not normal.
Just a couple of mortals, I guess. Yeah, I mean, he's going to probably just put on the line. So that's what the second Warp Prism is. He can keep harassing inside the main and then reinforce outside.
Does Serral see this army moving out? That's obviously the most important thing right now. Does Serral have any idea that Neeb is not macroing up? Let's take a look at the vision.
Does he not have charge? Are you sure?
No, yeah, I'm 100% sure. I'm positive.
Uh-oh.
This is like...
He's warping in Zealot, so this is just a huge mistake. This is a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean, he has the gas. He has the minerals as well. Yeah, you're right. This is just a flat, yeah.
So he's a little bit of an issue here, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to find out here in a couple of seconds.
There we go. Charge is starting, and that's obviously not when you want to start charge. But he's still going to try. I mean, you got to respect the force field. Guardian Shield can be useful as well.
And he's going to go for it. Sandwiches in a lot of the army there. Just the 2 Immortals, but packing quite a wall behind that. The Hydras, though, in the background are dealing so much damage, especially against those slow Zealots. Neeb's trying to do it, but at a 50 supply deficit, I do not see it happening. He's just straight fighting the army, by the way, too, so he's not really affecting the economy. Does maintain the Immortals. That's the small glimmer of hope, I guess.
And now we see 8 Adepts being wiped in, which is a little bit strange as well. Obviously, Adepts are pretty decent against Hydra. Still a couple Roaches in the mix as well. So the Immortals are supposed to take care of that. But I think Serral just has a little too much. First Prism is going to fall, I thought. No, he's going to go for the units instead. Doesn't really matter. No, it doesn't. GG. We're all tied up.
A little bit of a technical win there. I felt like this was something we could see happening. Even just going into this, you heard me before the match started, that I hope I don't get full road. There is that question mark about confidence. There's times where I believe he really does believe in himself, but I feel like a map like this where it's already kind of working against you, he's like one mistake away from being like, nope, that's it. I don't think I can do it anymore. This is not a premature GG. This is not a weird moment.
Not at all.
But making the mistake of not having charge, cutting probes, deciding to do a timing attack, and forgetting the critical upgrade. There's no way around it, Rotterdam. That's a critical mistake to make on this stage.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen some of the top Korean Protoss try to do it as well. I think you were casting that pretty famous game on New Gettysburg, our good old Zest during Home Story Cup. But most of the time, when you make that many Zealots, it's pretty useful to have charge.
Yeah, it happens. So, I mean, again, we talked about this being a bit of a gut check moment for Serral. He does have the map pool to kind of bounce him back there. I mean, not to give full credit to the map, by the way. It's not that ridiculous. He played really well, but a mistake was made. So now, Neeb, you've won WCS Austin. You had Serral in that first map. Can he bounce back? We're going to head to Proxima Station, and this is one of those more... I mean, where do you tip this over? It's not Blood Boil, and even Abyssal is the Protoss map in this map.
No, I actually think Proxima is good for Protoss. I think... Neeb is very good. I'm expecting the Oracle opening here, and he's very good at holding that choke point between the third and the fourth while buying some time and being active with the Prism. There are some Zergs out there that love it. TLO is one of them. TLO won on Proxima against Neeb as well. Just says it's my favorite map. But most Protoss players would say, like, you know, Proxima compared to Defenders Landing, compared to Odyssey, compared to Blood Boil, this is a sweet map. And in the best of 7 format, you could say it's almost must win for the Protoss.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're all tied up. Heading into map number 3 in the lower left-hand side from Finland, it is Serral. It's nice.
Yeah, I was about to say, it must be nice to pick up a cheeky game number 2 like that on Blood Boil.
Nice.
After the first map didn't really go your way. Here we have the other man who said that it feels quite good to be in the final. He's representing Ting, it is Neeb. I just wondered, Jeff, what happens when it feels good, goes up against it's nice? Like, what prevails?
I always chuckle because, man, I wish I was a better StarCraft player when I competed, because I would have given you guys, I would have torn my shirt. I would have cried probably. There would have been some yelling and screaming. It would have been very emotional. I don't know if that's probably ugly on the other end of the spectrum, but I just laughed my butt off when Stu's like, man, big moment for you. How do you feel? Pause. It's nice. It's like, wow. Did she just ask him like how he feels about like Callaway golf clubs or something like that? Or like, I don't even. But you know what? The other part of this too is again, it's kind of cool how dialed in these guys are. Like, they're not losing their stuff. These are pros who have been working countless hours to get to this point. And just getting there is not enough. So that's why you're getting that response. When they win, maybe then we'll elevate it to it's pretty cool.
As this probe is going to try to be annoying over here. Definitely quite something. I loved it as well. It's good times. It's just going to be an awesome best of 7. I'm super excited to see where this goes from this point on. We had 2 games just to test the waters a little bit. Both players now know what's up. Neeb is like, I've got that awful map out of the way. Let's play some real StarCraft from this point on. And Serral is like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's head into Proxima and let's duke it out.
All right, we got some speed coming in here from Serral. I still am, you know what? The bullet that absolutely is in his chamber was that horrific Zergling double drop flood.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's now. I don't think it's this map, but maybe. But that's coming, by the way. On one of these games, we're going to see that. And one of the things that first made Neeb kind of leap out and grab people's eye last year was his defense. There's been some beautiful defenses from him. So I don't want to hype it up too much, but keep your eye on that. It's definitely coming.
Of course, there was a time as well where some people would say that Neeb was a little vulnerable to cheese. There was a moment where Bly beat him a couple times in a row with like, proxy hatcheries. But Neeb never seemed that stressed about it. He's always like, yeah, that happened. But I know how to beat it now, you know? And then it's like, all right, let's move on. You know, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We're not going to bring up the storyline of Neeb doesn't know how to defend against cheese. But like you said, Serral is definitely keeping the Protoss players honest by showing that he is willing to do that. And if you're trying to do whatever build you want to do with 1 or 2 units at home, you will get punished.
Like, pulls in here, sees the quivering spawning pool, so he knows speed is along the way. Still sees a little bit of gas coming in, but not like 3 drones on gas kind of intake. Don't know that necessarily tips him off into maybe a fast Evo chamber or speed overload or anything like that. The Stargate does get scouted, and for a lot of players, that's a really big deal. In this case, in my opinion, again, it's a bit more of a formality. One of the things that I have seared into my head watching a lot of these qualifiers with the handsome, devilish Rotterdam's cast is you always talk about how Stargate has to happen on this map.
Yeah, especially in PvT. I think PvZ, maybe, you know, if you want to do something else, I'm not against it. But I think in PvT in general, you know, Liberator range openings are just deadly to deal with. Medevacs can fly in from every angles. But the good thing about Stargate as well, if you're not 100% sure if your opponent is macroing, 1 gate Stargate is actually pretty much the best defensive opening. In the past, we used to think like, oh, that could be greedy. It's like, no, actually, Oracles are fantastic against Link Flood. You can make a Void Ray behind it to pick off a Dropper Lord or deal with any sorts of Roach or Ravager Rush. So even on smaller maps, like 1 gate Stargate is good offensively to force out spores, pick off drones. Defensively, incredibly strong against anything Zerg has to offer.
All right, well said. We do see +1 melee here coming in for Serral. That's not tipping us off just yet into something super strange. A lot of times players will fancy a lot of Lings, a lot of Banelings, even of the drop style. I think it was a little bit more unique in that game 1 that we saw it being attempted to be dropped on the Army.
So we see 12 Lings being produced now. That could just be to deal with this potential double Oracle Adept push that we see Neeb in the past.
There's there too.
Yeah, Neeb has to be a tiny bit careful because he still doesn't have a Mothership core. This is on purpose. I believe that he's just trying to create any sort of economic edge that he can for himself. But, you know, Serral could very well shut down your Adepts, then make a few more Lings and suddenly try to put on some pressure. Glaives as well. Could be a reward prism, and we could maybe see something we saw stats bust out in the GSL final, where suddenly you see Adepts bouncing around, but it is a lot harder now. Adepts having less hit points. You gotta be careful.
I actually even like the Adepts in front of the third. You do have to be a little bit mindful of that in case a big flood comes over and surrounds them, but even that denies a little bit of information at the third.
Yep.
Oracle's kind of bouncing around, like you said, trying to get some harass done. He actually gets denied there, being actually destroyed before it even goes off by the Zerglings, but even had it gone off, it would have just gotten the Lings. And here it gets dodged. A single drone sacrificing its time and energy to go take a chill pill for a minute next to the gas. And there is that War Prism before anything else. Also worth noting, an infestation pit. So we're actually only seeing Lings and Banelings, which is important to note because if you're going to do a lot of War Prism harass or a push, add some Archons in there, and all of a sudden you've got a pretty deadly army comp.
I just kind of wonder where Neeb is going to take this. I have the feeling that Neeb wants to be incredibly heavy on the Adept count, but at the same time, he's taking extra gases, he's getting a fort, so he gives us the idea, like, no, I do want to take a fort base eventually, guys, as we do see that Templar Archives being wiped in as well. But you still feel that with this many Adepts, you need to get something done soon. Otherwise, eventually, Serral's like, well, cool, normally I make 20 Banelings. If you have that many Adepts, I'll make 30, and we'll see how well you split your units. And let me tell you, most of the time, it does not end well for the Protoss.
No, not unless you split like a god and you make
hide the Banelings.
Orbit. There's going to be a... Oh, he's going to attempt to warp it in the main, but there's so many queens right there. A couple of split actions going on here. He's going to have to back up because there's just too many queens. Does try to save the lives of those Adepts. He gets 3 of the 4, which is not bad. Shading forward is the Adepts, but man, there's already Banelings here just outside their vision.
No.
Oh, and just a couple just trying to actually get all the detonations there. He just gets a few, though.
But this is a beautiful hold by Serral, and if you guys mean, what do you mean hold? Like, it didn't seem like Neeb committed. That's just because Serral kept the door closed. Not even a small opening. Neeb obviously wanted to drop some units in the main, warp in more units in the main, shape into the back of the natural, force Serral to pull more units into the main, and that's when the other force of Adepts could have potentially killed a lot of drones. But Serral said, like, nope, 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 that ain't gonna happen. And now we've got 7 Swarmos on the way.
But outside of his, basically outside of the Zerg bases, are really shark-infested waters. There's just a lot of Neeb out there. Now, they can get pushed off. It's not a standing army that Serral can't deal with. But I'm really curious, Rotterdam, because he's gone to Hive. He's got +2 melee. I'm expecting an Ultralisk Cavern. If it was going to be a Spire.
It's still layer, no? He's going for Swarmos.
What? Oh, okay. All right. I thought I saw a Hive morphing, but I guess I missaw.
And I think Swarmos are brilliant in this phase in the game.
All right.
Immortals, Archons, Zealots. Well, none of those units are very good against Locusts. And what I like as well, Jeff, is that we've seen some Zergs sometimes make 6, 7 Swarmos. I like the 11 Swarmos we see out of here from Serral, because that is simply too much to just try to bust through with a couple of Adepts and Zealots.
Wow. This army comp, you say you like it. I actually think it's extremely risky.
That is a good start.
I mean, half the army's just frozen there right now. There are no Archons to back this up, so the Locusts do become a big issue. But with this kind of army, I feel like if you get a high Archon count and a couple of good storms, there's a lot of that army from the Zerg that just disappears in the blink of an eye. That being said, the army of Neeb right now is very, like, theoretical. It's like, hey, you should respect this, I guess, kind of. He doesn't really have a fighting army just yet. He's trying to buy time for his 4th base to kick in, but time he does not have. Here comes Serral.
Yeah, Neeb is slipping a tiny bit. He has a lot of minerals. Love to see that being spent, because his army could technically be a lot better. He's going to try to land another storm there. These Lings and Banelings already have +2, by the way. This is just going to be tricky, because you don't want to waste storms on Locust. I love the pylon spread. Overcharge is going to keep Neeb safe here.
Yep, and here comes the Locust a bit late, though, so their lifespan is depleted. A lot of Ling Bailey trying to get in there, but a big storm does go down, and a huge force field blocking them off and getting them to go into the Archon. Still some decent connections, but that's kind of what I'm talking about, Rotterdam. Like the Lings, the Bangs, they're gone, and now it's just Swarmos waddling back and forth. Neeb doesn't have the army to give chase, But one bad engagement, and I mean, Serral is just walking a tightrope right here. It's really scary.
And that was good defense by Neeb as well. Neeb is going to try to do some damage on the left side, but so far, every PvZ we've seen, Serral always leaves a couple of units at home. Good bailing connections there as well. A couple of these adepts might get out, but these Zealots are obviously super dead. So that's well done by Serral. He's going to pick off 12, 14 army supply there. It's a prism in the back of the natural, but he actually can't kill it. The queens are out of position. 7 more Swarmos? What?
Yeah.
How many Swarmos is he getting now?
Yeah.
16. That is unusual.
You like 11? How do you like 16? And there is that Ultra's Cavern, so he will go ahead and pursue that tech, but I keep your eye on the Archon count, because for right now, there's not really that hard answer where it's like, well, yeah, but Hydras can kill him, or something like that. Yes, Locusts do a lot of damage, but a couple of... Yeah, but Storm. They go down into a condensed area. You don't spread Locusts, and if you can storm that spot, they die really quickly.
But I think Neeb, normally Serral is too good, right? To just let all his Locusts fly in at once and get picked off at once. He's gonna have to be careful. I totally agree with you, Jeff. I mean, Serral is one bad fight away from a total disaster, but this many Locusts is incredibly hard to push into. The Banelings trying to get close to these High Templars.
They tried, but they're gone. The Locusts are gone as well. Now, keep in mind, though, that they can keep producing those Locusts, so that is their edge. Even if they can get stormed or Archons are good against them, as the fight continues, there's just going to be more of them, and it's the Protoss that has to rebuff that army. He's going to back away from these Locusts. Probably the right call.
Yeah, I love the way that Serral is doing this. He's not popping all of them at once. Gets a couple of Archons there for free.
And a run by the natural.
Yeah, Neeb is everywhere now at once. Perhaps finally the first Protoss to find an opening with run-bys. These links are powerful though, and soon they're going to get Adrenal Glands, so they'll be even better in shutting this kind of stuff down. At the same time, Neeb is going to try to get close to these Locusts, but he's standing very deep on creep. These Storms, however, are effective.
The harass inside the main does find Purchase, going ahead and cracking into the Queen. The army outside of this gold base, however, is again kind of losing out its buffering. It has to be really careful. Some Locusts could do a lot of damage. There's no Storm in sight. He needs to look out. He's fighting on top of creep. Here come the Locusts. They're going to jump on top of the Archons.
Yeah, if I was Serral, I'd try to surround this army. That's exactly what it's going to go for. There's no answer against these Lings, and now the Locusts have free reign over all these Immortals. Well done there by Serral, but he did lose a lot at home.
He's lost a lot at home. He's down to 58 supply and workers. He's actually behind on Neeb. This army will die, but is it just too much internal damage? If you look back inside of Serral's base, there's a lot of shambles, but he has cleaned it up for now. He's rebuilding the drones, and he has a 6 o'clock 5th base. If Neeb doesn't find that, I mean, that base is totally open to harass, by the way, then it can be a huge comeback point for Serral, because right now he's on his back foot.
And don't forget that since Serral, his 4th base was the gold, it's going to run out a little bit faster as well. During all of this, Neeb took the gold. Neeb had a sick bank during all of that. He had 2,000 minerals. He's going to be able to spend that real soon. Wipe in as many High Templars as he wants. Get a few more Zealots. Neeb is playing this game really well so far.
He's playing really well, but here's one thing to keep note. The Swarm hosts have not been themselves killed, so they can kind of continue to do what they do. But also with Ultras coming out and having seen that army of, it was like 7 or 8 Immortals go down, that's a hard thing to rebuild. Oh my God.
That is a good Bailing connection. Actually, all the Swarmos are dead.
Never mind. Everything I just said's wrong.
No.
Where did they die? Did they really?
They ran a little too far forward, and Neeb was focused firing them. But I agree with you, Jeff. I really didn't think that all of them were dead. I was like, I wonder how many's got left. Apparently, 0. No Swarmos left.
Yeah, I should. You know what? I'm gonna decide. I'm gonna watch the rest of this game and commentate it. I've been checking Twitter or something. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't see him die. I didn't see it. I don't know what to tell you.
I didn't see all of them die either. I mean, that's the only reason what it explains why Serral's supply was suddenly so low, right? Because he was getting the wraparound.
I did have a second voice in my head though. I was like, he hasn't killed any of them. But then I'm like, why is he not harassing right now, Serral? That's really weird. But yeah, it's hard to harass with stuff that's dead, I guess. Serral's going to return. The game has slowed down here a little bit. That much I do know. Again, Bailey's going to kind of try to swing in here at the gold base. And Neeb is going to take a moment to catch his breath. We did catch a shot of a mothership coming in, and that's actually really nice. A lot of times a mothership comes out in a world where there's corruptors or vipers or things that can actually really kind of shut that down. But right now, none of those things exist, and I'm really sure about that this time, Kevin.
Yep, I mean, there's no infestor for a neural. There is no corruptor on the map. There is not even a single spire, I believe. No, we don't have a spire. So yes, we have vipers, but what are you gonna do? Pull the mothership in and then like it's just gonna fly away, right? So this is going to be hard. This is a terrifying Protoss army if you don't have a whole bunch of Broodlords, and that's something that Serral simply does not have.
I love how looking at this game, you'd be like, man, what an incredible 30-minute blast, but it's actually 14 minutes into this. And here we go. The Vipers could have some Blinding Clouds to try and manipulate this army. That's about as good as it's going to get. Oh, wow. Nice harass. 33 probes went down in the flash of an eye, and here comes the fight. There is that abduction. It pulls out the detection, I guess. Storm and Archon's great positioning, though, with the Blinding Clouds in the background. Does shut down a lot of this for a moment. The Ultras trying to do what they can, but it is Neeb that comes out on top, giving chase. It's just 3 Queens and Ultras to retreat.
Yeah, that was actually a really good Blinding Cloud, but in the end, the firepower of these Immortals and Archons was simply a little bit too much. Few High Templars still left as well. All that Neeb technically needs to do is shut one of the 2 new bases down, and I think that this base is his. He has to be careful. Don't get too over-eager. He had a lot of money in the bank. He's stepping very deep into enemy territory, but there are a couple of reinforcements coming in from the north side.
It's too much.
Is there any detection here?
No, he actually killed the Overseers. That's going to do it. Serral taps out, and Neeb takes game number 3 to make it 2-1 in his favor.
So far, you could say everything going in a way that we expect. You know, Neeb wins Abyssal, Neeb wins Proxima, Serral won Blood Boil, but the games have been action-packed. They've been very good, especially this game. I think it was awesome. Obviously, Serral made a mistake when he lost all the Swarmos. That was unnecessary. You know, he lost a couple where he tried to get the rep round, but he lost all of them. But Neeb was everywhere at once and did a really good job in shutting it down and not taking bad fight against the Locust.
I was just going to say, I mean, what do you mean he lost those over those Swarmos? He totally had 25 Swarmos or whatever alive. I could have sworn it, but yeah. No, that game got a little bit chaotic. It was awesome. I mean, we saw him running Zealots into the natural and warping in back. That moment, too, by the way, it's worth noting, that was where he actually took the lead, but for so many other Zergs, no way in hell they deal with that. They actually just buckle and die right there. But Serral was able to kind of manage all 3 of those spots. Yes, he lost quite a bit, but if he wouldn't have lost all the Swarmos, and that, by the way, that was, I wish I don't know, did we see it or did we not see it?
No, we saw a couple of them running forward when he was getting
the rest.
Yeah,
kind of
but that was why you said that is when Neeb was creating so much chaos. There's basically 3 fights happening.
Yeah.
And I think that Neeb just used excellent focus fire of the Immortals, that even though the Immortals were gonna die, they were taking a lot of Swarmos with them to the grave.
And you kind of touched on this earlier in this game too, where it's like, I like 11 Swarmos. The point you're trying to make is with that number, you can do things like harass the main, pick off Nexus. It takes a little bit less than that, but with that number, it's a very healthy number. If you can target down enough of the Swarmos and like 3 or 4 survive, it might as well be 0, because you either have to rebuild from there, or you just don't come back to them and they're just kind of almost an APM nuisance for the rest of the game. But that was a big moment in time. The harass opened up those opportunities because Serral, by the way, there's nobody out there, including me, who's going to make the argument like, well, he sacrificed the Swarmos. He had to do that. No, you never want them getting hit. They can launch at a distance and then back away. That's their advantage. So for them to die right there was because of the multitask harass that he was facing from Neeb.
Yep, it was an awesome game, a game that we could talk about for quite some time. Even the early game hold jab, you said Swarmos Bane can be wonky, but it can also be dangerous, but Neeb handled it with class. Either way, we'll see if this Finnish young man, this incredibly talented player, can bounce back as we have loaded into Ascension to Ire. He's on the left top side. Give it up for Serral.
Neeb, make Ire proud. That is our man on the lower right-hand side. From America, it's Neeb.
So far, he has definitely been doing that, I think. Ascension to Ire, one of the more even maps. I think we saw Serral play a couple of excellent games already on this map, but we also saw him seeing a little bit of trouble from time to time. This should not be, you know, as one-sided as Blood Boil turned out to be, even though what if Neeb would have had charge? Maybe the Blood Boil would have looked totally different.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
no.
Had Neeb won Blood Boil, this would be an extremely perilous situation, but I have to say, it still is. Serral does not want this to go to match point. You don't want to be down 1-3 against a player like Neeb. Going back to 2-2 if he wins this map, a very even map, as you said, that would reset the series. That's a moment where you can kind of take a breath and say, look, can I win a best of 3 against Neeb? Yes, I can. But if you go down 3-1, it's like, can I 3-0 Neeb? Probably not.
It's going to be very difficult, especially since we know that this American Protoss has a couple of cheeky builds up his sleeve as well. But so far, it's all pretty straightforward, pretty fair. I really don't think Neeb is doing too much crazy stuff. He's looking for openings, not overcommitting. Just love the way that Neeb has been playing so far. Incredibly good.
He's been executing at championship caliber for sure.
Wow. If he goes back-to-back in these kind of WCS events, that is really impressive, Jeff. something we have not seen in a very long time.
No, and that'd be quite the statement. And it actually, it does kind of funny things too, because you're seeded. You win $25,000 and you're automatically guaranteed a spot at the end of the year in the global finals. But if you win 2 of them, you don't get 2 spots. So it becomes, we have a protocol. It's actually announced what they do. They fall back on higher place finish, that kind of thing. But it becomes interesting territory where it's like, hey, nobody could beat Neeb, but you still get a spot. And they're like, oh, cool.
You know what they should do? Just give him 2 spots. Let his Zerg play as well. It's like on day 1 of the global finals, we'll get Neeb's Protoss, and on day 3, we get Neeb's Zerg. And in the end, he can play himself in the grand final.
Oh my gosh. What a great final that would be. Scouting Zergly pulls in here, and it's going to see the usual suspects. So there is, again, that Stargate. And I can hear, like, the ghost of In Control Past, who's, like, talked about, you know, Heart of the Swarm or Early Lakes of the Void was like, oh my gosh, it got scouted. What a terrible spot to be in. It's so different now. Even the Oracle role is different. I remember some broadcasts from you where it's like, oh my gosh, he only got 4 or 5 kills. That's not the world we live in right now. The Oracle, do you guys remember that last game? I saw the Oracle at like minute 18, still tagging stuff, still showing up, having a role in that late game army. And that's how it functions now. If it can get some kills, sure, great. But what it's really supposed to do is make sure that Neeb knows exactly what's happening at all stages of the game.
Absolutely. Strategy is important, but these players, they both have excellent strategies, and that's when it often comes down to execution. Of course, if you want to do a cheeky build, if you want to surprise your opponent, that's when you want to start hiding stuff. But as long as your idea is to just kind of play straight up, it is sort of okay if things get scouted, because at the end of the day, having a good build is one, but executing, that's a whole different ballgame. But both of these players are excellent in dealing pretty much with anything their opponent throws at them.
Well, we're in that different ball game, Kevin. These guys have been executing at the highest level this entire tournament. Sometimes people make it to finals because they get an easy bracket, or, I don't know, they get lucky a couple of times. That just does not feel like the case here. Serral has been dominating his opponents. I believe he's never been at match point this entire tournament. No one's ever put that, that sword to his throat. Meanwhile, Neeb, in his interview, you actually heard him say TLO made him feel the pressure, and then he had that close series against Special. But otherwise, and even in those matches as well, executing extremely well.
Yeah, I think only in group stage number 3, I think Serral was 1-0 down against Scarlet or True, one of the two. But then in the end, Serral still turned it around. But that was only the first best of 3, so he wouldn't have exactly been...
Technically, I'm half right.
Yeah, he wouldn't be at the risk of... He's never been at the risk of being eliminated. That's where you were going, and that has absolutely been the case. Hydra then being thrown down, 52 drones, 12 links on the way. Now, these could just be the links to deal with these adepts, but this could also be nothing but links, and then Hydras, the lower type. Ooh, he's going to go for it. One of the Oracles already took quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, he's going to try and jump on that Queen, the anti-air source there. But with these extra lings, he is able to clean up the Adepts. Getting 6 drones for himself and escaping with both the Oracles is a nice little takeaway there, though.
But I think Serral is only going to remake the drones that he just lost. And I think from this point on, we're going to see nothing but units out of the Finnish Zerg. We saw True do this a couple of times, and True had a lot of success with it against Neeb in WCS Challenger North America. True actually 3-0'd Neeb. Once again, Neeb plays those games from Korea. True was in America. But it's still worth mentioning. Do we have a Bailing Nest?
That would be another huge mistake, because it's not meant to be Ling Hydra. It's got to be Bailings, right?
Yeah, well, most of the time, yes, but that's often with a few more drones. There is this 51, 52 drone build where you skip the Bailing Nest, and it's pure Ling Hydra. And yeah, I think that's going to be the case. No Bailing Nest. So Serral's going to just try to end this game, but if this attack doesn't work, well, good luck. Then Serral's in a world of trouble. Serral pretty much needs to win the game with his upcoming attack.
Templar Archives, no probes being queued up right now, more gateways being added. I believe Neeb knows this attack is coming. I did see the Oracle tag somewhat of a force back there as well.
He probed up a lot too, all the way up to 71. He's got 5 gateways on the way. The force fields are going to be really important.
Charge will finish.
Yeah. Neeb showed us some excellent holds earlier. From which angle will Serral attack? That's what I'm very curious about.
Oh, look at those creep tumors.
Going via the north side, I think is a little bit hard. I love that pylon spread there. I love the well-protected pylon. And often there's that stasis ward over here, but this time it's not here. This is going to be one hell of a tough hold for Neeb.
Going to be tough, though. He does grab a couple of Hydras, probably hoping for a bit more than that. The Natural's being pressured here as well, but no Lings joining up with these Hydras just yet. keep in mind that Pylon is the only one powering those 2 gateways up there, but he's just going to kill the gateways themselves anyways. Ling's not getting much of a kill over here, kind of squabbling with a few Zealots. Neeb needs to buy time, by the way. That's the pressure that's happening to Serral. He has a scary force, but if he doesn't win decisively right here, he's in a world of trouble.
Well, overcharges are about to run out. I think that's the last overcharge that we are going to see for quite some time. Where are the Archons? There is the first Archon. Those are a couple of decent force fields as well, shaving off a couple of these Hydras. Neeb is handling this very, very well so far.
So much time, 2 Immortals at a time. He still has the 4 Archon kind of bravely stepping forward. Going to take a little bit of extra damage for free. But again, it's just time on the side of Neeb. We're going to spring to action right now. And Serral is going to try to get in here and attack, but there's no Ling support. Still just nothing but units behind this. It has to get work done right now.
Yeah, where are the reinforcements? A couple of Zerglings would be fantastic here, as there isn't really anything that's so good against Lings. Most of the Archons have died. There are no Zealots, but the Immortals have a lot of HP against Hydras. Neeb is putting up one hell of a hold so far. Well, that's a lot of Immortals, Jeff.
There's a lot of Immortals. They're getting low in health, but they're not dying. They're just not anything getting on top of them. Hydra's trying to spring forward right now. There's nothing to stop. They go for it. Probes being pulled, but the Zealot count is dwindling. Supply advantage edging in favor of Neeb for a moment there. He's holding on, or is he? He's going to try to give chase.
Where are the reinforcements of Serral? The Oracle's going to show up as well. Wow, that Oracle could have been so useful as it has a lot of energy. That Phoenix is going to get picked off immediately. Stasis, going to have to be careful there. Serral knows it. It could maybe trigger it with a single link. I really think that Neeb is going to be able to do it, as these Immortals still have so much HP. The Punishment Core might die. Archons are going to come in. This is so close.
This is going to be the final clash right here. The Hydras have really low health. The Immortals are starting to die, but there's still 4 behind this. Archon steps forward. Again, those stasis wards not really grabbing anything. Hydras are now hitting in on that morphing Archon. They kill it. The probes have to get pulled again. Supply advantage in favor of Serral, but just a little bit. He's going to jump on top of the Immortals. If he can get on top of the Immortals coming out as well, it could be death there.
Another overcharge. 9 probes go down, but Neeb still has more workers. 2 more Immortals just popped. Full HP, still barriers. Wow, that one link triggered the barrier. That's actually a pretty big deal. Once again, the probes are being pulled. This is the hold of the ages here by Neeb.
It's so close. Neeb just needs to hold here, and that is going to be the game behind this. There's nothing but units coming up from Serral. A creep highway crafted so that it can reinforce even faster. Trying to get on top of this. He's killed so many pylons, killed gateways, but he's just not getting to the meaty underbelly of this base yet.
Well, a couple of Zealots getting picked off again. The Zealot count is not spiraling out of control though, and that's kind of what you need as a Protoss. A few more Hydras go down, but the Archon gets picked off as well. But that is a lot of Immortals. 5 Immortals standing strong. 1 goes down. Look at that one happy Ling in the mineral line. Actually got like quite a few probe kills during all of this, but Neeb is finally pushing Serral back.
He's getting on top of the ramp. The Hydra count doesn't seem that impressive. There's no Lings to come over here and grab these Immortals. I'm waiting to see drones get produced. That would be a white flag of sorts. Serral down in supply. Now he's been behind in workers this entire time. Despite that happy Ling, despite the probe pulls, he's still just producing Hydras. No upgrades, by the way, guys. If we haven't made it very clear, I was not sure about Swarm Host earlier. I'm very certain about this. He is all in on this right now. He's just making Hydras and still reinforcing. It has to happen now.
Patience is a virtue, right, Jeff? And that was beautiful by Neeb. Waited out all those overcharges, so much hold position, pulled the probes, not once, not twice, but like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And in the end, it seemed like
never
it was
overcommitting.
Yeah, and it seems like it was going to be enough. I mean, there's a Guardian Shield perhaps available now as well, if not at least a few force fields. Neeb is going to have to still be careful, because Hydras are a scary unit to go up against. But as long as the Zealot count goes up, look at the low HP Archon. The Archon's like, let me get back. Guys, you've got a barrier. I don't. I'm about to die.
Guys, my job's over. Stop. I'll come back, I swear. It's Newkirk, the Archon. We're going to have the fight here, though. The Immortal count is out of control.
Yeah.
He's able to just wallop on this. Level 3 upgrades coming in as well. And that's going to do it. Serral's army has gone down and dwindled. The Zealot reinforcement behind this will be a nail in a coffin of sorts. I'm so ready to ship this, by the way. Serral's just going to hold on. He knows what happens when it goes down to 1-3. It's going to be so hard.
The Archon does get finally picked off, but these Immortals represent so much HP. The barrier ability is ridiculous, and obviously the cooldown ain't that high. 1 Sentry does get picked off here, but a few more Hydras fall. And Hydras are expensive units to lose out of a 50 drone economy.
And that's going to be it. He's going to commit to the fight, but it's just not going to do it here. Serral calls it. GG, and Neeb holds. The 3rd base will decide that map, and it's going to be 3-1 in favor of Neeb, looking to repeat as a WCS champion.
What a feat that would be. I think that really puts Neeb in the conversation of best forerunner of all time. If he goes back to back here in WCS tournaments, of course it's different times and it's always hard to compare. But this young man is looking incredibly good so far. Let's see what the boys at the desk have to say about the grand finals so far.
Well, I think we can say we've been enjoying this grand final quite a bit, or at least those of us out there who cheer for the US of A. But amazing series. Welcome back to the desk. And Nathanius, still with me, is Todd and Muslim. How do you guys like Immortals?
I like them a lot, but apparently I think Serral will be hating them even more than I like them, because that was absolutely insane to hold that last game. Roti talked about True. Very recently, the challenger for Valencia took place, and Neeb was 3-0'd in the qualifying match in the lower brackets by True, who used that build mostly. Made a ton of Hydralisk attack. If you think about it, this is designed to counter the hard counter to Zergling Bane Hydras, in which case you get a wall off around your third base with a lot of gateways and you warp in sentries, both of which are kind of bad against Hydralisk, right? But no, Neeb landed a lot of money force fields. He lost his gateways, but somehow was so patient and so calculated with everything that he ended up holding, and any other Protoss in the world would have lost that game.
Yeah, a lot of amazing plays being made here. Neeb came in with seemingly no confidence to Muslim, but what did he just bait us all?
I think Neeb baits everybody all the time. I mean, going back to the time that he said, like, oh, stop cheering me on, guys. I'm not actually that good.
Stop cheering me on. I'm about to become the greatest forwarder.
One real defining moment in this series for me is when Serral, I felt he thought he was maybe a bit further ahead in the fight than he was with the Swarm host, when he tried to wrap around the army, but those Immortals just gunned down a good 10
They all died in like 3
hosts.
seconds.
I wish I could kill Swarm hosts as fast as that with something of Terran ability, you know?
Yeah. But actually, there is one thing as well that I think Neeb has been doing incredible with. It's his Warp Prism. Have you seen this thing? It's like a mobile Nidus. Like, it's swapping an entire army throughout the entire game, like Zealous in particular, and he's wrecking Serral with it.
So he's not only microing the Warp Prism like insanely well with the Archon drop early on, he then replaces it with a second Warp Prism kind of thing, just for extra damage and extra added effect. But yeah, you're totally right. His multitasking and his ability to warp in units all over the shop, but equally as well, Serral's been actually holding on for dear life with, I don't want to say minimal effort, but he's been making it look like they're just clashing everywhere, and it's been a beautiful final so far.
Such an interesting thing to follow. Neeb has, I feel like after that major series, like he took a couple of bops there and he's just like, you know what? Screw this, like just went next level, and he has really been bringing the heat. We're gonna go back into that grand final. Let's find out if Neeb can take this next map and become a back-to-back WCS champion.
What a tournament we've had so far, and the finals so far have been excellent as well. Lots of action back and forth, coming down to that nail biter right there. I mean, it certainly, it was never like Serral's base was in danger. It was kind of a different danger. It was like, oh my gosh, if this attack works, he certainly wins. If it doesn't, he's super, super dead. And he had to tap out there in the end when his Hydra count just dwindled to nothing.
Yeah, what a hold. What a ridiculous hold, Jeff. It just kept on going. Incredibly well played by both. Awesome stuff to watch. The next map is going to be played on Sequencer. Whenever I see Sequencer, I think of Todd, and obviously I look at the supply, but I also think about carriers, because he always talks about them. It's a unit we very often see on this map. Let's see if it's going to be the case this time here in the grand finals, with the tournament live on the line for this young man. Spawning on the right top side, it is Serral.
And his opponent, on the lower left-hand side, holding on for dear life and giving himself a big edge. It's the red Protoss, Neeb.
Winning this tournament gives you $25,000 and a direct seed into the WCS Global Finals at the end of the year. Obviously, Neeb already has that seed. Already has the $25,000 as well. Yeah. But he wants it again, and then he can get
that one they give. They've got a couple checks back there. They're like, you know what? We'll give this one to you. Yeah. I think he gets the trophy.
Yep.
But here, look, going into this, and I think of the analyst desk, I think of Todd. They're like, look, who's the favorite? I believe everyone thought it would be Serral. I mean, certainly Neeb, up until this point, is the bigger name. He is the guy that's won championships. He won the one in Korea, which is, again, mostly unheard of. Pretty incredible stuff. But Serral was the red-hot commodity. He's a 19-year-old guy who has been dominating the European ladder, which outside of Korea is as good as it gets. But coming into this tournament, looking amazing. Here in the final, it's still Neeb who's able to, with... I mean, you said patience is a virtue. I hope people understand how much patience it takes not to jump the gun on those photon overcharges, not to use the force fields too early, not to just move forward and be like, I got a slight lead, I've got like 8 immortals, let's just do this. Get surrounded, lose into the Hydras, and then lose the game. That happens to, well, me every day, but also a lot of other really good Protoss players.
To a lot of us normal Protoss players out there, Jeff. You're not the only one. It's insane. Obviously, losing this finals will still give you $10,000. Not a bad payday either. And also 1,400 WCS points.
Yeah.
Put you really high up in the rankings. Serral is obviously looking good in those rankings. Was already top 4, top 5 going into this tournament.
We have not heard the last of him, for sure.
No. There's a very good chance we'll see both these young men at the end of the year at the global finals. But hopefully this grand final ain't over yet.
Yeah.
Do have our first target here on the way.
I know, I kind of heard ourselves talking like, oh man, Serral, good job, dude. You're super lost. But it's like, you know what? Some of the best finals ever are when a guy like this is pinned back and it's like, hey, if you're really a champion, you'll find a way to dig yourself out of this. And it has to start here on Sequencer. So you talked about carriers. That's a big deal here. Is it because of the size of the map that we just find ourselves in a lot of late games? Is it not good for Hydroling Baneling, Kevin? How do we get there?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, right? Obviously, it is a large map, so any sort of Hydra Bane timing often hits a little bit later. But above all, this map has a ridiculous amount of ramps, a lot of choke points, and the Sentry is slowly but steady making his way back into the Protoss arsenal.
Where'd that little guy go?
Yeah, I know.
He gets a Probius in Heroes of the Storm, and now he's back in our game as well.
Yeah.
What's going on here with that guy?
He's a little bit on a roll. A couple of force fields here and there. We're not going to see the crazy 12 Sentry meta again, but those 3 or 4 Sentries make a huge difference. A couple of force fields cut the Hydra Bane composition in half, and before you know it, that army runs out of steam. So that's why, even if a Zerg wants to be aggressive here, it often is just a little bit harder to execute. Now,
I just got a text message from my brain, by the way, that a Sentry's not a probe, but you know what? More on that later. I'm trying to make a joke about Home Story Cup. Probius is a probe, not a Sentry. It's fine. I swear I play StarCraft.
No, I mean, this shows that you do play StarCraft.
Right, because I can
You just don't play heroes. You weren't exactly sure what Probius was.
I don't see Swarmhost dying, and whatever. Okay, fine. But we do have some links coming out. If you look up at that production tab, yeah, it is a link drop. There's not a storm of lings coming out behind this. The nice thing about an attack like this is you don't care about 8 lings for the most part.
This is bad. Sorry, Jeff, to interrupt you. But
go for it.
Neeb is supply blocked. 62 out of 62. If these 8 lings run into the mineral line immediately, those pylons are late. He cannot warp in. Mothership Core is built in the natural. Serral needs to go now. Wasted a couple seconds there, but this is still kind of bad for Neeb.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. With getting that Mothership Core out, it is a little bit less bad. 3 probes do go down. It's going to pull up over the natural. There is no pylon here in position to... Well, actually, that one's going to work, I guess.
Couple of hits.
Meanwhile, he's going to try to return the favor. He ends up canceling that shade. He's going to be happy with a couple of units out in the front. At the end of the day, he ends up losing 6 probes. And we kind of go back to what you talked about earlier, where last game, he was behind in drones at this situation as well. He finds himself in a similar spot now as well.
This is, I think, already really sweet for Serral. Being up 7 workers in this phase in the game. Of course, tech is tiny bit delayed. Minor investment, that link drop, but I think it was worth it. Lost mining time for Neeb as well. And because Neeb was distracted dealing with this link drop at home, his push on the other side of the map was obviously not microed in the way that we normally see Neeb micro it.
Okay, Baneliness just begin to be morphed here, so maybe, well, there we go. I was going to say maybe he's going to wait to drop some Banelings. He's just going to go with the Lings.
The Mothership Core is out of position again. Phoenix does pick up on this, but the Mothership Core needs to make its way. There is 1 pylon in the main, but it doesn't cover everything. So yes, these adepts have glaives, by the way, on the other side of the map. This is going to get hectic. Is Serral ready for the attack against Resonating Glaives? Is Neeb ready to deal with the 8 Lings?
And here come the Adepts. Lings into the main base as well, getting some kills. Mothership Core not making its way over there, shading forward into the natural. What kind of units are we talking about? The Queens getting attacked. Is this going to be it? He's going to go onto the mineral line at the natural. Lings just do not have the purchase. Some damage being done in Neeb space, sure, but it's just so much more damage being done to the Zerg.
Yep, these adepts with resonating glaives pack quite a punch. The queens are starting to fall. A lot of drones are being picked off, but at least Serral's buying some time for extra Lings, and he's doing a little bit of damage as well on the other side of the map. Does Neeb have a way to reinforce his push? Imagine if he wipes in a couple extra adepts here.
I don't think so, and the Banelings will eventually go ahead and tilt the favor for Neeb, but he's got to be happy with that trade there as well. Neeb now ahead in workers. Of course, that's just a momentary respite. Serral will produce the drones necessary, but a big win for Neeb.
Yes, but there is one downside to all of this. That was not just a regular pressure while he was macroing up.
He was taking losses at home.
Yep, and the tech is delayed. Where's the Robo? Where's the Templar Archives, right? Like normally the numbers, I agree with you. Work account good, army supply good. Tech-wise, however, I mean, there is a Robo, but army composition at the moment, that is the one problem for Neeb.
Okay.
No Archons yet, no Immortals yet.
Well said. I actually agree with that and like it. I think another thing to kind of flip that over is it was not Serral like establishing a fourth. Those adepts actually walked past the morphing fourth in the name of trying to go after the attack, which means Serral's got the right number of hatcheries and bases right now to recoup his losses as well.
Taking a look, there's still an Oracle, by the way, with a lot of energy.
There's always an Oracle.
Yep.
I don't know about when Swarmos live or die, but I know there's always an Oracle.
Well, this Oracle's going to be able to get a couple of drones. That's
going to die right now. Okay, no. I'm like, there's always an Oracle, then it goes off and dies. I'm like, heh.
One Prism heading towards the main, couple of Hydras around as well. Serral once again just being annoying, being a huge nuisance with these Lings. Where is that Mothership Core of Neeb? It was, it's actually hanging above the turret. Neeb is focusing on his adept, but he has to make sure he doesn't lose too much against these Lings.
Gonna warp in at home to try and finish that off. Big deal for Neeb is, I don't know if Neeb's ever seen what it looks like when a Warp Prism dies. I know what it looks like, but he just always has one out there. Lings are gonna get crowded over there as long as Neeb is paying attention, but Serral has done a fantastic job of, as you said, always being annoying. It's a really big deal. It's actually been a theme with his level of play. He's constantly looking for a mistake on your end.
You know what I would like to see once again? Yeah, he's going to try to morph a couple of those Lings into Bane. This time, I'd love to see what he did on Abyssal once more. You know, 3, 4, 5 Dropper Lords. You said he doesn't know what it looks like. A Warp Prism dies. Well, this is the Neeb of early stages 2016 when he actually lost a lot of Prisms. But I agree with you, Jeff. He got so much better at it. Todd said it as well. Neeb's Warp Prism play so far in this series has been phenomenal until you unleashed that caster curse.
I know. I'm over here like just... What a great final I'm having so far.
You're crushing it, Jeff. You know you can always save yourself as well because there is something that you have to mention.
Oh, yeah. That caster pack. Baneling does connect over here, and it does have the strength of that melee upgrade to actually finish off the probes. That's a big deal. Without the upgrade, it just drops him down to, I think it's like 2 health or whatever, maybe 1, but able to do it there. So 9 probes die in the end. And Serral is again in a nice position here. Just on the 4 bases, though. No, he's got a 5th being morphed in now as well. Okay,
I am just a tiny bit worried about how to execute an attack here. Knocking down those rocks, that would be awesome. Neeb sees that, right? There is an adept standing there. Good stasis. Going to keep those Banelings away from the High Templars for now. That adept is going to get picked off. Serral is looking for an opportunity. Neeb's defense so far has been the thickest. But this time, these rocks have gone down, and this 4th base is going to be hard to defend.
It's got to at least be canceled, if not just killed outright. Some Lings are going inside the main as well, and Serral is all... Look at the mini-map. It's blue everywhere. Neeb is holding inside his 3rd, excuse me, but his main's taking a little bit of damage. He did lose that Nexus, not cancel it. And Neeb is falling behind in supply. Now, as you said, Rotterdam, one of the kind of big themes here is, where do you attack? Well, Serral's answer is to attack from like 5 different positions. And even if it's going up a ramp or down a ramp, it's better to do it that way.
Oh, those adepts are in a lot of trouble. Banelings will get good connections, and they just melt. And now these High Templars are a little bit exposed, and this is not really where you want to have your sentries either. This is just awkward, man. How on earth is Neeb supposed to keep all his units safe?
Well, I mean, that's the question. Neeb doesn't have the answer right now either, by the way. He's having a tough time. His 3rd is having the army kind of roundabout over to it. With the rocks down and an access point to that kind of back 3rd or 2nd natural, excuse me, Neeb's having to defend so many points. He's going to go down this ramp. He's got to look out. There's a lot of Hydras Banelings there. He's got to be really careful. A couple of storms do go down, but nothing really scoring a big win there. And a lot of Lings are looking to maybe go after that 3rd.
Yep, I mean, Serral was just gearing up for a massive attack, but also dropping an infestation pit during all of this.
Yep.
Left a couple of units behind just in case of a prism. He
Always.
always does that. He is the opposite of an F2 Zerg. Like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't know what that key does or that he has ever pressed it. Here come these banelings. Can they get close to the sentries? No, they can't, at least not yet. But don't forget about that massive force on the right side.
Yeah, it's looking to go ahead and strike, and it will do that. The Hydra's trying to buy time. Here come the Lings, but there's also a Neeb army over there, and a Stasis Ward grabs a lot of the Lings. He is actually defending right now.
How is
Supply's closing. He's still... Oh! Everything I just said to lie again. I apologize. One Baneling connects. 14 probes go down. 57 workers to the 77. Behind this, by the way, so it's worth noting, we saw this in the PVTs, but when you're defending against Harass, even if you're doing a great job, your opponent's expanding freely, they're teching up. There's the Spire, there's the Hive. It's still looking good for Serral.
Yeah, it is still looking good, but another ridiculously good hold there by Neeb. I have no idea how he does it. I have no idea how he always keeps these high Templar saves, drops the force fields at the right time, has good stasis traps. My stasis traps never do anything. We do have a couple of extra Dropper Lords there, and 20 Banelings morphing. Is Neeb gonna run up that ramp? That seems like a bad idea.
We can't do it. Most of that army is energy-based. It's not really a brawler army. It's got 4 Immortals with it. And those are, I think, 5 probes. No, wait, sentries. That one was on purpose. But he's got to be careful.
Oh, he's
oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, he does back off that one. Now, Neeb has defended, but what is he trying to attend to? He's got the fleet beacon coming in, so it will be probably Tempest. And, of course, it's just in perfect timing with the Spire. He's also taking a 5th base, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's going to retake the 4th.
There is a Dropper Lord coming from the right side of this base, actually, that could potentially connect with some probes. And there is another Dropper Lord on the left side. Look at those Banes getting some good connections.
Good fight there. And the Banelings do connect and shatter that mineral line again. More Banelings looking to come in, but they're pre-split, so maybe not the best of connections. Oh, no, they went back to work. The Hydras are going to kind of try to buy the attention of Neeb back there. Neeb will push this off. But here comes the Overlord, and it's got Banelings in there. 23 probes are again going to die, if not more here. And Neeb's just taking too many losses.
Oh, Serral has...
No, he's not going to push off of it, actually, but he's down 60-some-odd supply now.
Serral has really been hating on the Probius this game, Jeff. He's really been hating on it. 78 probes have gone down. Serral, his harass has been relentless, and that's really what's making the difference of this game and the other games. Neeb, as good as he is, as how much pressure he's under, he's still thinking about the next phase. And he's like, I need an answer against Broodlords. I'm not that rich, but we're still gonna try. That is really impressive. But technically, Serral could be like, well, if you're gonna make Tempest now, I could keep making Hydra Bane. And if Neeb doesn't secure an extra base eventually, I think he's in a lot of trouble. He's gonna lose more pros. Look at these Lings. Look at them go, Jeff.
They don't even have Adrenaline upgrade just yet, but they're getting close to having it. Neeb is gonna try. He's realizing that while he has been defending pretty well, minus a few Banelings, I guess, he has to start attacking. He's losing. He's losing back at home. He's got to do something. And this army, I don't even know if there's a War Prism. I don't think there is. It's going to be really hard to reinforce.
I agree with you, and that's obviously what Neeb is thinking, but it's so awkward, right? Because he has a Mothership on the way, Immortals on the way, but he's still going to try, even though he can't reinforce. Good force fields, decent storm, but without a Prism, you can't possibly win here, right?
I don't think so. Good storms, yes, but again, like you said, he's just losing units. Everything is dying. The Templar will drop their storms. G is called, and Neeb has had enough of Serral on sequencer. Get out of here, he says. I want no more of this.
15-minute game, 92 probes went down. Relentless arrest there by Serral. You said this is got check time. Let's see what champions are made of. Well, Serral withstands that first test. I mean, he's too tall there. That was an excellent game by our Finnish Zerg.
The never-ending story. There's multiple checkpoints that you have to get through in order to eventually ride that really weird-looking dog into the, the end of that movie or whatever happens there.
Which movie?
The never-ending story. I actually don't understand enough of it to give you a better analogy. You've never seen that, have you?
Which year? What year was it released?
Like 91?
No. If you would have said 94, there's a good chance, because that was my movie year, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Well, check it out. Atreyu.
All right.
Weird dog. I actually had this really nice analogy to make, and then I realized I forgot the names to everything there. The Probius thing just shattered my confidence. I don't even know where I am right now. But here we are. I do know where we are. We're in the finals of WCS Jönköping. It's beautiful Sweden, where the sun never sets. and neither does the fine, good StarCraft play. We're going to head into Defender's Landing. Rotterdam, what do you think about this map?
This is a wild one. I really think this is a crazy one. We saw Serral on this map against Drogo opening up at the 12th pool and just not doing enough. So now I wonder, are we going to see that again? Is it once again going to be some sort of a Ling Ravager timing? Is he going to go for maybe a Ling drop, a double Ling drop? Because I think this map is the hardest to play as a Protoss because you're forced to play very passive and safe. And then I always feel if the Zerg just macros up, I'm a little bit behind. But every single time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to delay that Mothership Core. Bam!
Yeah.
18 Lings in my base. So I just wonder, where do you find that thin line as a Protoss if you're Neeb loading into Defender's Landing?
And that is where we are. Let's go ahead and introduce our players, clawing back with an amazing offensive in that last game. It's the Finnish Zerg Serral. It's nice.
This entire tournament's been nice, Jeff. I've really been enjoying myself. We have had a couple of great stories, great players breaking through, great series overall, some really hype games. And our reigning champion, finally we had a story that didn't fall short in the round of 32. He's here to defend his throne. It is Neeb.
2 Protosses in the round of 16, but one of those Protosses was hardly just a Protoss. It was Neeb, and he had a date with Destiny in the finals, wants to be a repeat champion, something that's very rare in StarCraft 2. We actually had an awesome guest with us in the green room. It's a popular streamer by the name of Elohim. He does some PUBG stuff here. He's working with DreamHack, and one of the things he asked us, he said, you know, what's it take to be consistent in StarCraft? And we all kind of scratch our head because it's like, actually, it's a great question. It's really, really tough. There's different map pools. There's different metas. A lot of these guys go to school or have to, you know, like real life responsibilities. It's very hard to be consistent. And to think of Neeb as someone who can go from WCS Austin to Jönköping and perhaps be a champion, but even as far back as last year, do it in Korea. It's amazing.
I think one of the reasons why in general we see it so little is that it often comes down to a little bit of bracket luck. I mean, every champion is obviously great, but we all have good and bad matchups. It just doesn't happen often that there is a player who says, no, you know what? All 3 of my matchups are pretty good, and then ends up winning the tournament, and then does it again. That's just so hard. But I kind of feel that's almost the case for Serral now. Obviously, his ZvZ is spectacular, his ZvP is really good, and he's been working on that ZvT, which stopped him in Austin. Neeb on the other end, well, PvT, he's a monster. PvP, he's always been one of the best, because that's where he won.
Trend-setting.
Yep. And now his PvZ, well, he said he wasn't feeling it, but he's playing great. And the way that he played against sort of as well, let's not pretend that this isn't an incident and he can't do this again. Like, no, these are just incredibly consistent players because they're very solid all across the board.
I love it. This is Neeb not feeling it, by the way. What happens when Sue gets up there with him and is like, you know, I don't know, we're in Montreal or something, and like, how you feel about your PvZ? He looks at her and is like, it's really good.
I think then we'll just see like 12 white flags coming out of the play area. Every Zerg just unplugs the key, but it's like, you know what? You go, Neeb. You have it. We surrender.
You know what? To your point about bracket luck, though, one of the guys I can't help but to think about when you say that is Special. Special at WCS Austin only gets stopped by Neeb, but I would say his TVZ there actually looked better somehow than it does here. And then here, Special looked incredible, but gets stopped by Neeb again.
You know what's the saddest story?
I love, tell me.
TLO, round of 32, loses against Neeb in Austin, is up 1-0, but ends up losing against Neeb. Neeb wins the tournament. A couple weeks later, we fly to Jönköping. TLO again wins his first series against Neeb in the round of 32. Ends up meeting Neeb again goes up 1-0. Like, TLO could have been in 2 finals if he wasn't in the same group as Neeb.
I don't think I was ready for that heartbreak. The second you said you wanted to hear a sadder story, I immediately said yes because that's my job as a caster, but my heart said no. And then when you said TLO, I was like, it is going to be a sadder story. This is going to devastate me. Dario's out there, crunching in the hours, looking for his final as well. And maybe when we make our stop at Valencia, it'll be the day of Dario.
I feel Valencia is a town where TLO will leave its mark.
You think so?
Yeah. Give him a sangria or 2 and he's good to go.
Yeah.
Tapas.
I believe that.
Anyways, we have the War Prism on the way. Dark Shrine more than halfway done. This is obviously stuff we have seen before. So far, even though this is a crazy map, And if you guys wonder, why is it so crazy? Well, it's just small. It's really, really small. Traditionally, we always have one rush map, so to speak.
They do call it a rush map, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and last season it was Paladino Terminal. If you guys wonder, like, I can't remember. That's because we never played on it. This time, however, we're on Defender's Landing. And, well, you see it a little more often than Paladino.
And if you go back a few years, it was called Bloodbath, actually. That's a joke to like 7 people in the audience. But you know what? Artos is watching at home. He got that one, so it's for him. Archon going to be warped in here. There is no, and this is one of the things we're kind of checking in on, too. It's not going to be a glaive Archon. There's no timing attack. It is just a single Archon, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, that is actually something that's a little bit uncommon. I mean, Neeb was supply block.
I guess it's just like mega half-hearted. Like he's taking the third a little bit faster, maybe.
That he is.
Like,
yeah, that's he absolutely don't. Now he's going to wipe into more. Could have just been a supply block.
I think it was a supply block. We don't need to overthink it. And then...
okay, now we do have 2 Adepts being wiped in. He's probably going to shade those into the third base while harassing with the Archon and then focusing on the Adept. Of course, at 2 Adepts, one shot a drone. So this is basically like, hey, look at my Archons. They're really big and blue. And at the same time, you've got those 2 Adepts trying to gun down as many drones as possible.
Man, he's so brash, though, that one Archon just walks out by itself, kills the creep teamers, but it's totally fine. Gonna lead these roaches on a merry chase.
Yeah, but that's exactly what Neeb wants. And here we go. If Neeb gets like 5-6 drones here, that's awesome. And normally, well, he should be able to get that. It's gonna be 4 instead.
4 is still pretty nice.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot of drones stacked up.
Oh, boy. Doesn't quite get him. And the War Prism actually is very low in health. It's gonna have to go just heal up in the corner there. Take a look at those minerals that no one will ever mine. But it's a small map, and one of the dangers here is that harass is nice, but the harass is meant to buy time, and one of the ways it buys time is occupying the Zerg attention and keeping them at home at the Warp Prism. But if you can just bounce around between being aggressive and going home and defend because of how small the map is, that's really good for Zerg as well.
Yep, that 4th base seems a tiny bit late for Serral. I wonder why we don't have that one yet. Okay, there we have the drone heading out. Baneling Nest only halfway done now, while Charge is already halfway done. This kind of feels like this is all right for Neeb, right? Like, you know, the way that he has macroed up.
Equal in workers, a little ahead in supply.
Yeah, killed 6 drones. Of course, in the end, it's all going to come down to engagement. But this is one of these games, Jeff, where I absolutely love to see Storm just being started immediately right off the bat. There are some moments where I'd say, like, maybe a couple Archons first is better, get some upgrades out, and then go for Storm. Oh, a couple of Ravages in the mix. That's cute.
Interesting.
That could help against these sentries that we've seen many times.
Yeah. It's going to be Hydra, Roach, Baneling, Ravager. Army's going to move out here. We did see that War Prism escaped. Go over here and reinforce.
This is scary, though, with the Mothership Core, because, I mean, we've all been there. We've all recalled in such a big game. I mean, there's technically $15,000 on the line, 25K for the winner. This is not where you want to make a last-minute, you know, recall at home. It's like, uh-oh, the Mothership Core got sniped.
Well, Serral wants him to.
Yeah.
Serral is fighting for his tournament life here.
Lurker Dan, Jeff.
Sure. Let's get them all. Lurker Dan, Threat on Spire, go to Ultralisk Cavern.
I'm shocked. That's not something I expected out of Serral, not on this map. Haven't seen it that much.
Lurkers are strong. Strong here. You just siege up outside that third and it kind of uses like a fire base. Come at me. Very difficult to deal with.
But I just kind of feel that Neeb has been so heavy. Like, I in general, I like Lurkers, don't get me wrong, but I just kind of feel like, what is the composition that Neeb has been going for? Silly amount of Immortals, bunch of Archons. What is Neeb going to do when he sees you go Lurkers? Well, probably that, and then maybe he adds a Robo Bay for some disruptors.
Or just more Immortals.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that could very well be the case. And he's like, well, I'm already halfway there.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
This is my ticket to heaven.
We'll have to see if there's a game plan here. Maybe, I don't know, way out of left field would be like Nidus Worm play alongside those Lurkers.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Dropping Lurkers, that's something that Nurture will do every once in a while as well.
There's actually a sweet spot for the War Prism here on the high ground. Serral has no idea. His army is not that far out of position. That's a lot of Zealots. Neeb really wants to get the hatch. Serral should try to keep this hatch alive, obviously, at all costs. You cannot lose your fort base, and he's not going to lose his fort base. But at least Neeb is able to boosting it up quite a bit.
He actually gets away with a couple of Zealots there as well. Nice positioning by Serral. Serral just always seems to be in about the right spot anyways for Warp Prism. It's supposed to be very difficult to harass him. More Archons coming in, but the fourth base, once again, kind of a theme. it does so far at least get established without any hindrance. It's not really being slowed down here.
I just want to know where Serral's going to go with those lurkers. Well, there's a lot of units being sent towards the main. What does Neeb have there on the right side? Is that an observer? What, near the overlords?
Yeah, they will be spotted.
Oh, that's the prism. Imagine if imagine if there were 2 Archons in there. I was like, oh, that would have been sick. Well, this is going to be hard. I mean, Archons and Immortals are kind of clunky units, but Zealots are going to help out. I love the Pylons as well. It seems like Neeb is somehow ready.
The thing I like about this for Serral is don't drop. Just wait. Like, pull back and just hold off on it. A lot of the army came back to try and defend this. And there's the lurkers.
Cybercore is going to go down. This warp gate is going to get picked off as well. But in the end, it will all come down to the engagement. Lurkers are fantastic.
What?
Time? What?
That doesn't slow down air stuff. Even I know that.
It doesn't even slow down anything. It might be up by the time we're loading into Odyssey, but takes a while.
Oh, the Immortals cracked the high ground, and that means there's no exit for these Hydras. They will try to just go ahead and take the fight, and there's the drop appearing in the main. The army has actually gone away from here. I mean, Serral's just going to back away.
Yeah, I like that Neeb jumped on the lurkers because they were very exposed, but at the same time, this means he's going to end up losing the fort. Not all the units have been unloaded, by the way.
It's a mostly like Ling-based army, so the DPS in this army is not very high. He's going to back up. I do like that move.
Bailing drop into the natural.
Bop. Going to go ahead and drop it here, and he does get some kills. 3. Just 3, though. Not that bad, but Neeb's going to push out. Serral did lose the lurkers. I like your analysis, Kevin. You're like, what are these supposed to counter? He's already got so many Immortals, and they seem to be a little bit ineffective. Just now, the Infestation Pit's about to finish, so it's just still going to be Ling, Hydra, Baneling. And Serral needs this to work. Both players have maxed out. Oh, the drop is going to get destroyed there.
That's painful.
This is not a good... the drop's going to stop. Let's forget about it.
But it's very... Oh, this army might actually get surrounded, and there could be no way home. And you can see Neeb immediately pulling units from the north side. But what a 6 surround here by Serral.
Huge surround for Serral. He's going to get all the Immortals.
Wow.
We just got done talking about how they're essential for defeating lurkers. Well, if they're all dead, it's really hard to rebuild that count. And now the drop finds purchase. It's behind this third base, getting some probe kills and getting them off. Zealots are good. Well, this is just getting sloppy. Needs bleeding out units.
Yep, Neeb is being being hit left, right, and center now. Serral's just everywhere, and keeping that fort base alive is going to be quite hard. Serral's still maxed out. It just seems so healthy in this game. 77 workers. Every time I check the production tab or the supply, he's maxed out. And once again, killing that forge is massive, because we know Immortal Archon always does well against this, but the moment it hits like +2, +3, that's where it gets straight up ugly for the Zerg. Well, it's only +1 right now for Neeb. The American Protoss is in a little bit of trouble.
He's coming up here looking for a fight. If you're maxed out as a Zerg player, you just got to go for the fight at that point in time. He's got a huge concave. The Archon's having a tough time getting up to the front lines, and the Hydra's dealing so much damage behind this. The supply for Neeb is starting to kind of plummet here. It's going to be a bit of a trade from Serral, though, as he's taking it favorably, but he will lose this army at the end of the day.
Yeah, these Zealots are doing a really good job in making life a little bit better. A couple of Immortals are going to survive here, but 2 more will fall, and the other one goes incredibly low on HP. So Serral did lose a lot of supply there, but he has taken that base on the right bottom side as well. More Dropper Lords are morphing. He's getting +2 missile attacks as well. The forge has been rebuilt, but never used.
Here's the point of concern, though. I mean, I really think Neeb's way behind, don't get me wrong, but the left side, again, he's taking another base. Neither of them are really being harassed. If Neeb can land some Mega Storms, if Neeb can hold off 1, maybe 2 more waves of an attack, he's in a position to kind of come back here.
You know, you remember when I said this is a game where I would love to see him go Storm immediately?
Yeah.
He never got Storm.
It's hard to Storm when you don't have it.
It is.
It's hard to use Storm hosts when they're not alive, and it's hard to Storm when you don't have it. Another drop is going to go in here, and again, just a single lurker, and you might look at that and think that's kind of weird, but it's really only Neeb that always has an observer in the right place. For the rest of us, that's actually kind of a luxury.
2 Dark Templars being walked in. It's been a little while.
That's a lot of lurkers. And a Greater Spire behind this. And you know what? That's where the pressure's being felt. Neeb always has Stargates at the right time. He has a Stargate right now. I don't believe he has a Fleet Beacon, and it's going to be a lot of... I mean, he never gets playing Stalkers in this matchup almost ever. It'll be very hard for him to deal with Broodlords if we get that far.
Oh, the Immortals are a little bit out of position. Imagine if all those lurkers are able to run into the natural. At the same time, though, Serral has to be a tiny bit careful. Don't throw away your army. That is a ridiculous amount of lurkers, though.
How do you get on top of that? He's going to try. He's pushing forward. Immortal's stuck on the high ground. Zealot's just evaporating. The Hydra's doing so much damage, and he has to back away. I believe the Observer might have actually even been picked off with that Overseer Hydra composition, and Neeb is just losing out right here. GG's called out. We're going to Game 7.
I love it. Game 7 between these two fantastic young guys. One from North America, one from Europe. They're both hyped up, and they deserve to be hyped up. That was an awesome game, but obviously Neeb will know where that went wrong. That army in the middle of the map that got surrounded, that got sandwiched. I never knew they made sandwiches that good in Finland, but I'm booking a flight, Jeff.
You have to. It's just too delicious. But man, at one point it was 3-1 in favor of Neeb, and in his wins, it was like Serral did everything he could to try and win, and it was deflected. Serral took a moment, we had a pause, we come back, and he's hit a new gear. I mean, the drop at first, I was like, this is comical. It's terrible. But at the right time, he picks it up. At the right time, he comes back. Even when he came back, there was a few attacks where it's like, this isn't really doing much. Picking up the Forge was nice, but whatever. But then he moves on and finds harassed at the third. He drops the Banelings to kill 6 more probes. He just gets every ounce of value out of everything he does.
Yep, I love it when he said as well, just keep those units there. Don't unload them now. Maybe you can use them later when Neeb pulls his units out of position, and that's exactly what happened. And since Neeb
baited out a time warp,
it's almost like PvT, right? Where you know there is a medevac and you always have to worry about it because you don't have a Stargate. That's kind of what happened there. And because Neeb was still thinking and being busy and dealing with that drop, whether it was unloading units or not, that's when his units in the middle of the map, you know, they overstepped their boundaries, they overstayed their welcome, and they got sandwiched. And I mean, that's Zerg art right there, when just Zerglings and Banelings and Hydras come in from every angle. You know, put that in the next cinematic.
And I mean, again, I kind of want to go back to your earlier comment where you're like, man, Lurkers, what are they hoping to do? There's so many Immortals out there, but that surround on that army, killing the 8 Immortals, that was the turning point for me. That's where all of a sudden it became very clear Neeb is no longer in the driver's seat. It's all about Serral. Well, guys, we're in game number 7. The map is Odyssey. The tournament is WCS Jönköping, and the prize is $25,000. Can this Finnish Zerg in the lower right-hand corner, Serral, deal a win? They're not used to that. Neither am I.
I like both of those jokes. Can he finish him?
Oh, God.
As over here, we're looking at the main base of our American Protoss, still the reigning champion of the WCS circuit. Give it up for Neeb. You know, Jeff, I've been loving our finals so far this year. Like Katowice, I think, was a legendary finals. I think Austin was honestly pretty damn enjoyable with Neeb Nurture. I thought that was a really good series. The first ESL finals, okay, maybe a few too many adepts, you know. Well, if you are Protoss, maybe that wasn't that bad. But if you don't play Protoss, but I think overall we've had a couple of great finals this year, and I'm loving this one too.
Yep, a game 7, really nice back and forth, very high level play. One of the things I've been kind of keeping tabs on is in between these games, they show the players, and I'm not seeing profuse sweating. I'm not seeing shaking of head. Both these guys are showing championship caliber play, but also keeping themselves calm, cool, and collected. Really excited for Smix to ask either one of these guys how it felt, how they're doing emotionally.
Like you said, what comes after, it's nice. Wow, the probe getting a drone kill. How often do you see that? Imagine if he just taps out. He's like, I've had it.
Just dead silence everywhere.
Sue runs to the stage.
What happened? Okay, that's weird. Why? Why there? What is this wall in? Kevin.
I have got nothing, Jeff.
Ants? Someone.
Maybe this is going to be like some sort of a creative double wall.
Is there an architect in the no, I don't
Eventually, this will make sense. Don't worry. Just right now, it doesn't. I guess he's just not worried about a bunch of links running across the map as probably going to open up with an adept. Is there anything else? No, right? It's just... well, okay. No mothership core, no adept.
I'm going to explain myself.
These links, by the way, could be annoying.
Typically with a wall in, especially at this stage of the game, you're looking to minimize the space entering into your main and natural. When you put a cybernetics core back like that, it doesn't close off the opening. The only thing I can really think of is that the cybernetics core is a pretty central and important building, so you don't want it at the front.
These links are going to be annoying. I wonder what they're going to go for. So 2 links are going to go into the main. There's a good chance these links can get like 2 probes. Obviously, Neeb is going to micro his probes, but he doesn't have anything that kills the stuff, really.
Until now.
Yeah, there's that first adept. I mean, the micro is good so far by Neeb. Is he really not going to lose a single probe? This is not fair, Jeff.
Well, to be honest, I've said like 30 stupid things, so it's so nice to hear you say at least one right now.
Oh, he killed 1.
Never mind.
But I thought he was going to kill 2, you know, so...
Yeah,
halfway
sure.
wrong.
Yeah, a little bit.
That is a very fast
Stargate gets scouted, which again...
Yeah, this time I think it's actually kind of a nice scout because this was a very fast target, right? Like Stargate before anything it was. I think before Warp Gate, before the Adept, before a Mothership Core, obviously. So this is the type of Stargate you do kind of want to pick up on, just so you make sure that your Spore Crawler is not 4 seconds late.
What do you think about the faster Stargate? Is it just to get...
Throw the timings off a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
No all-in coming off this or anything like that?
Not necessarily. And Neeb just doesn't strike me as the Protoss who puts it all on the line. Game 7, Grand Finals, and then goes for like, you know, 9-gate Adept Claves behind it.
What if he literally like, starts adding the gateways and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, if he does it, then I just misread Neeb.
Yeah. Which would be kind of cool by him.
Yep.
That's kind of what he's going for. But this Oracle's going to show up over here. There is already everything in place to deflect this. But again, as I said earlier, it's not so much about the initial damage.
No, but this is still already cleaner than, for instance, Abyssal. Remember, where it's like, you know, he's getting 4 drones, and it looks like that's okay. But on this level, these 2 are so good. They're so evenly matched that 4 drones can make a difference. Now, these Lings are going to try to get something done here. These Adepts obviously don't have Resonating Glaives. They do have a sweet position, and they're going to force 2 more. So that Phoenix, and now Glaives on the way. We gotta keep a close eye on that production tab of Neeb.
Early Baneling Nest, more Lings coming out.
I think Serral got scared about what happened on Sequencer.
Okay.
Somehow he managed that well, right, against all those Adepts, but that could have been a disaster if those Adepts would have just, you know, gone for it a little bit harder. So I think this time he's like, you know what, that one stasis is actually gonna pop. Wow, that's quite a few drones there as well, and the Queen, so that's nice.
Not bad at all. And here are those Adepts. But there is more than enough to deal with him, so that's why he's shaded kind of backwards. He ends up not losing any of the Adepts. Really nice play from Neeb so far. Back and forth between the 2 players. You'll see the worker count is just now equalizing.
Okay, now we have the robotics facility being warped in as well. It's being warped in on the low ground. As we can see, only a single pylon there. So
that's
this
a lot
time,
of Adepts.
Yeah, this is a little bit similar to what we saw on Sequencer, but the Baneling Nest is a lot earlier. But Serral needs to pick up on this. The Lings are going to see it, though, and if they get...
No Banelings yet, right?
Nope.
I don't think any Banelings. He has a good number of Queens.
Yeah. He should warp that. He should morph a couple Banes. That's exactly what he does. 5 Banes might actually not be enough because the Oracles can help out. They could technically snipe a couple Banelings as well. They're going to drop a stasis on top of the ramp, but 1 Ling...
Well, still gets a couple. And the Adepts do have the high ground, but here come the Banelings. The Oracles used up a lot of their energy, though, so they're not going to help out too much here, I don't think. Now spreading them out. Nice little spread there from our Protoss player, Neeb. And he's scoring some wins here. It's just the Queens. The Lings, for the most part, are gone.
Yeah, but a lot of the Adepts are quite low on HP, right? I mean, the Oracle's taking a little bit of damage as well from the Queens there. This is nice, though. Neeb finds the opening he was looking for. Serral immediately evacuates. A couple of Banelings going to try to wiggle their way into this middle line. Wow, Neeb is just paying attention.
He's everywhere.
That's sick.
He even has a sentry. The 3rd gets ransacked. Did he lose both the Oracles, or did one actually escape? I think he might have lost both of them.
Yeah, he was obviously dealing with the Banelings at home and still killing drones here. I mean, if this wasn't a gold, if this 4th base wasn't a gold, normally I'd say like, whoa, l'explosion de gate. That's what Todd would say.
Todd lives on. Even when he doesn't cast the finals, he's here in our hearts.
7 gates, that's a lot of gates, but this time Neeb does a 68 ropes. It's going to be a lot of Immortals, a lot of Zealots.
And this is the right call. He did damage. He killed a lot of Lings. He did some damage to the Queens themselves, and he knows that there's a chance that Serral will be caught on the back foot there.
You know, no Forge. There is no Forge for Neeb, so there's a good chance that Neeb is going to try to end this on 3 bases now with all those gates, all these Immortals. And if Serral can pick up on this as he's scouting for a 4th base right now, he's like, shouldn't you be trying to go up to 4 bases? Maybe eventually Neeb still drops it, but it's safe to say that with that Warp Prism, with all the gates, Neeb is putting it all on the line here. Serral has a gold.
There is that, at least, fake of a 4th or maybe a backup plan of sorts.
Without a Forge, it just feels like it doesn't feel real, right?
And 7 gateways, like you said. Like he's definitely beefing up for this.
And that Prism as well. Prism a little bit of a tell. 2 Archons. Serral's got a scout. Spots this army. Can't lose too many of these links for free.
I mean, so losing Lings is not the biggest of deals, but that was like a 12 or so. Now some harass dislodging the gold base.
Serral is in trouble, Jeff. Serral's army is really small at this point. Obviously, he starts producing units now, finally. Bailing speed is about to finish up. +2 melee is about to finish up. But this is an army that you're going to have to respect. And he just made drones. Serral just made a couple of drones.
There is no storm for this Protoss army. That's the only kind of thing I'm going to give it to him. But he's got a big, beefy army coming in here. It's going to go right up the throat of the Zerg player, pushing in right now. Hydra's trying to mask, Queen's trying to buffer in the front, but the entire series could be decided right here. He's going to push in on top of this. Hydras are behind the Queens in his proper positioning, but is it going to be enough? Bailey's to try to detonate, not getting huge purchase here. Supply is in favor of Neeb, and he's got the Immortal sitting behind. Is this just too much damage?
I mean, Zerg reinforcements coming in from every angle, but this time there is a Warp Prism warping in those extra Zealots.
It's not enough. The Hydra count has been jumped on top of. Neeb is on top of this base. Everything about it. GG's call out, and Neeb is your WCS Jönköping champion.
This young American just went back-to-back on our WCS Circuit. He won in Austin, and he wins in Jönköping as well after a thrilling final against that other young, spectacular, talented European Zerg. Awesome finals, Jeff. I loved it. What a great game.
Going into this, everyone's talking about how Protoss don't stand a chance, but time and time again, it feels like whenever a race is being discounted, there's always one guy who rises above the rest, and lifting up the trophy is that guy, Neeb from America, representing Team, is again a repeat champion in WCS. Can anybody stop this guy? Don't think there is.
Neeb, you said to me that you hoped you wouldn't get 4-0'd. Well, that is not what happened. You've won 4-3, and now you are a back-to-back WCS champion.
I didn't expect this at all, to be honest. I think I played way better than I ever could on any other event or on ladder or anything.
I mean, to win the grand finals is one thing, and to win 2 WCS titles is quite another, but to do so in a best-of-7 against Serral, who so many people were saying was a favorite of this event, how much more satisfying is that?
It is very satisfying. I mean, last event against Nerdshio, Showtime, and Major, it was still very hard, but Serral, I think, is honestly like a level above them, like the Korean level.
So going up against such a difficult opponent like that, what do you think it was that brought you just a bit of an edge over him? Why do you think it was that you were able to win?
I think he's a little bit inexperienced in tournaments, especially finals. Like, I was calm the entire time. There wasn't any game that I was nervous. Sequencer maybe a little bit, because it was match point for me, but besides that, I was just calm the entire time, and he was making a few mistakes that he doesn't normally make on ladder.
And now, Neeb, I know that you've been very honest. You said that you haven't been happy with how you've been doing lately, and yet you are now a 2-time WCS champion in 2017. I mean, how satisfying is it to have all your hard work be paid off like this?
It is very satisfying. Like, I haven't been doing too well, and I've been saying that a lot. So to win an event again feels quite nice.
And of course, Neeb, last but not least, you have so many fans that are watching. Please, a word to them.
Thank you for always supporting me, even though I have a lot of hard times, and sometimes I don't play too well, but in the end, I hope I can pull through, and all the fans make me keep playing.
Congratulations again, Neeb, and I know that at Austin, this was the end of it, but here in Jönköping, we have one last little test for you. So Marco Bertz from Blizzard is here with a champagne bottle. I know you're really looking forward to this. This will be your last little test. So Marco Bertz, please, the stage is yours. And there you have it. Your WCS Jönköping champion is Neeb.
What an awesome finish for an amazing Protoss player. Losing my voice a little bit there. Neeb, your WCS champion. What an amazing final for this young man. He is now the two-time, back-to-back WCS Austin, WCS Jönköping, StarCraft 2 champion. How much else praise can we give this accomplished player who has come so far and impressed so many around the world?
At this point, it's hard. I was counting him out kind of as well. I was kind of riding the hype of Serral, but he really delivered here in these grand finals, even saying himself that he thought he played better there than he ever did before in a tournament or in ladder, which is a testament, again, to how well he played. He impressed so many people. That one ascension to higher game, my jaw was dropped the entire time, and I was just waiting for Neeb to tap out any second, but no, his resolve was there, and he just lived on to keep on fighting and eventually won the game.
I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind who the two best foreigners are right now, because that was an epic clash. Like when it was 3-1 for Neeb, and that game kept on going on Sequencer, I really thought Serral was out, and Pig even called it like, oh yeah, Serral's dead, you know. But then Serral managed to come back, and not only did he manage to hold the Adepts on his side of the map, he managed to do counter-harass constantly while microing all his drones, all his lings, all his queens. And I've never actually seen a Zerg manage to not just hold that off, but also put on counter-pressure. So, man, really, really great play by both of them.
The multitask in his grand finals was off the charts. Like,
the Overlord drops, it was...
Yeah, the Warp Prism, Zealots running by, plus like a big warp in elsewhere, plus trying to push at the front door from Neeb, and at the same time defending the bailing drops across the map that had been killed by Serral. Like, I was almost getting a headache over there just watching.
Plus two melee upgrades are...
What we also need is kind of like a montage of every player to ever open a champagne bottle, because so far, the normal reaction is just me to go like...
He was defeated right after his victory against Serral by the champagne bottle.
Almost every pro gamer has been defeated by that champagne bottle. On
Only Stefano won it.
only Stefano has a winning record against the WCS/DreamHack champagne bottle challenge, but a really amazing result for this guy to have. I think everybody over in the United States, I know myself, I'm always very proud. This is a player that I look up to, and I think he sets a great example for the American scene. This event in particular, as far as WCS goes, was an amazing showing for players from the American regions. You know, we had amazing runs, best run that Kelazur has probably had, another very good run by Special, aka Major, and I think even players like Cham that we don't really see make it this far still had a really good run up until he hit that wall.
There's also this crazy setup going into the next two WCS events with Valencia coming up very soon, where Neeb actually didn't make it through the Challenger to go to Valencia. So if he goes there, he has to play from the very start of the tournament, which is almost like ridiculous considering he's a double champion. Whereas Serral, he will be back with a vengeance. You can bet on it. This guy is done with school now. He's going to be practicing full time, and he's going to come back stronger. And considering how good he currently is, I cannot wait to see Serral in action in the next tournament.
Now, I'd like to take this time to thank everybody that has tuned in online and here at the venue in Jönköping, Sweden. We've had so many great games, so many long series, and I hope that you all enjoyed this as much as we did. I'd also like to give another thank you to the sponsors, Asus Republic of Gamers and Razer. We will be back for WCS Valencia very soon, an event I think we're all looking forward to, right, guys?
Massively so after this finals and this whole tournament. In fact, it's been a great pleasure to watch.
Yeah, we hope that you guys had as much fun as we did this weekend. We will see you in a few weeks' time for that next WCS event. Have a great evening.